Good morning, everyone. We will start our program very shortly. Just within few minutes, we are going to start our program. Thank you. Namaskar and good morning. Welcome to this one-day webinar on disaster management in natural gas sector, organized by the Geometeorological Division, National Institute of Disaster Management, Ministry of Home Affairs. Myself, Raju Thapa, working in GMR Division, NIDM, and I will be the moderator of today's webinar. Like we all know, disaster are the environmental realities of the living world. And the International Decade for the National Disaster Reduction, this 1990s, was decided to promote solution to reduce risk from natural hazard. The journey of IDNDR through Hugo framework to Sendai framework has witnessed in India a legal and institutional progress, along with evolution of integrated and holistic approach to disaster risk reduction. And this paradigm shift from relief to response-centric to prevent and mitigation-centric approach has percolated both ways, like bottom-up as well as top-down bottom convergence, in which is now in place at various level and across various sectors, which is the call of our time also. So, and also we know that India is among the world's most disaster-prone areas nations. With growing technology and scientific advances, the possibility of occurrence, time, place, and severity of strike can be reasonably and to some extent, like in case of cyclone, can be accurately predicted. However, each industry, particularly those handling hazardous item in bulk quantities, like in petroleum sector or natural gas industry, strive to establish the best system and operate an operating procedure for ensuring all the timely safety. But the inherent risk in like production in storage gas, as well as like the management of the risk call for systematic, there's a need for systematic planning, adopting engineering practices, and positive attitude towards safety and environmental protection. India, being one of the highly disaster vulnerable country, has always been on its toe to confront the challenges posed by a number of disasters. A number of national interventions were carried out for disaster management, like Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, during his address at the 7th Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk 2016, outlined 10-point agenda on disaster risk management, in which he provided direction to address all the unprecedented challenges of disaster. So in today's program, to talk in this topic in more detail, will be graced by Sri Hirak Dattaji, ex-IOC, former ED, OISD, from MOPNG, and former advisor and head safety, Naira Energy. We will also be joined by Dr. SP Gargji, advisor, HSC, GAIL Limited, and former executive director, GAIL India Limited, and Mr. and Sri Alok Kumarji, IPSAM, Goa, and Professor Surya Prakash, head GMR Division, NIDM, who will be sharing their practical experience and knowledge to enlighten us. But however, before we move ahead with our program, it is my duty and mandate to give precautions about coronavirus preventions. Kindly wear your mask properly, wash your hand with soap and water regularly, avoid touching your sensitive organs such as eyes, nose, and mouth, keep social distancing, and clean surface regularly. And now to call the meeting to order, I will request Professor Surya Prakash, who is the head of GMR Division NITM and also the chair of this webinar, to deliver his inaugural address. Over to you, sir.
Raju, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. A very good morning to all the dignitaries.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
To you and all the other speakers as well, and all the delegates of this particular webinar, wherein we are focusing on oil and gas sector. We have been conducting several webinars and online trainings for the various public sector organizations under Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas since the last about 1 month. And this was mandated by us after the suggestion made by none other than Honorable Prime Minister to undertake training and capacity building in the oil and gas sector on disaster management, and subsequently followed up by Member Secretary Shri GVV Sharma ji from National Disaster Management Authority. We received several requests from all the 13 PSUs under Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, and also we were interacting with the various disaster management authorities at all the levels, and right from the district level disaster management authorities, state level disaster management authorities, as well as the national level disaster management authorities. So we have started with the collaborative programs. Today, NIDM is going to organize an independent program calling participation from all such organizations, which are from the hydrocarbon sector as well as from the disaster management authorities, including the various line departments which are involved into disaster risk reduction and resilience. We are also expecting participation of community level volunteers and NGOs, CBOs, etc. also, because they are also to be involved into this sector. If I recall, way back in 1984, that is on the night of 2nd December and 3rd December, there was Bhopal gas tragedy, which was the biggest industrial disaster. And one of the lessons learned from that major event was that communities were not informed, made aware, and prepared against the risk from the toxic gas, methyl isocyanide, which was likely to be released from that plant. So industrial workers who were well aware about it could save themselves. However, the local communities, being unaware, could not do so. Other issues which we learned from our interactions with the oil and gas sector, that there are different types of issues involved with different infrastructure assets and projects which are both offshore as well as onshore, and there is a need for both on-site and off-site plans. So in the industries, we learned from this oil and gas sector that they have upstream, midstream, and downstream activities, which will involve a different kind of functions by the different functionaries and employees as well as management. So therefore, in order to address the problems of disasters, not only the operational functionality, structure, and mechanisms are required to be well understood, but also the local geographical risk as well as the global risk like the current pandemic have to be understood well, so that we can continue our functions in a sustainable, safer manner. So these are some issues which have been discussed at the global level also. We are following the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction that has been mandated from 2015 to 2030. We are also following the agreement of Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 goals which were defined during the year 2015, and also the Paris Climate Agreement through COP21. Besides this, our urbanization is also taking place fast, and also the industrial growth. So therefore, we have to follow the new urban agenda for safer and smarter cities, as well as we have to also take care of our development is safe and sustainable in the industrial sector as well. So the Prime Minister of India actually gave us 10-point agenda, into which he had emphatically said through his point 1 agenda on DRR that all development sectors must imbibe the principles of disaster risk reduction and resilience. So therefore, the oil and gas industry is also expected to do so. So he is not only emphasized during November 3rd to 5th, 2016, when the first post-Sendai and the 7th Asia Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction was held in Delhi, and he has given the inaugural address. But also in 2020, on 18th June, when he held the meeting with the oil and gas sector, after the Bagyan oil well fire, which was started from 27th of May and took almost more than 5 months to be extinguished by using number of various technologies, and ultimately we had to get the fire numbers from Canada to extinguish that fire. So we have to, another point to emphasize, which is given by our Honorable Prime Minister again, was the application of modern technologies, state-of-art technologies for disaster risk reduction through his point number 5 on disaster risk reduction. So we have to enhance in-house capacities in terms of technology, and also capacity of our human resources for safety and protection of our assets, infrastructures, human lives from the natural as well as anthropogenic and technological disasters or biological disasters. So we have various kind of disasters that can inflict upon us, that can pose threats to us, which because of which we have the risk inherent as well as external. And risk, we talk not only in terms of the risk generated from the industry itself, but also risk generated from the neighborhood or from the global level, which can inflict the industry or affect the industry. So we have to ensure the safety from all kinds of risk, whether from the inherent or external origin. We have seen recently in the current pandemic that besides the current pandemics, we are affected by the cyclones, Amphan, Nivar, now Burevi and others. So one followed by the other. And also floods, landslides, and sometimes the earthquake jerks. So all these actually pose threats to the assets of the industry as well. And we have to take care that all persons, we say all inclusive approach, means everyone within the industry and outside the industry should know what to do and what not to do. So do's and don'ts in every specific disaster and in a multi-hazard scenario is very much to be learned. We are trying to share that knowledge through such programs, and also your own operational risk. So we cover the risk in two ways. One, that is generated from within the industry itself because of its functions, its assets, infrastructure, and activities. Second is how external risk can affect the industry, and what are the actions being taken by the industry to reduce those risks and make their industry resilient against those disasters. So we have good experts who have long experiences like Dr. S.P. Garg and Hirak Datta ji, as well as Mr. Alok Kumar, who are from the industry itself and have dealt with various kind of disasters or possess the relevant knowledge and experience, as well as they know about the innovations and technologies in this sector. So we would expect that all the participants will get very much benefited, not only the oil and gas sector, but also our disaster management authorities who have to work together in sync and synergize their efforts and collaborate for sharing of their resources, knowledge, information, and ideas. Being from NIDM, we have also this mandate from our Disaster Management Act 2005, which actually envisages that a national institute called National Institute of Disaster Management would look into the sharing and dissemination of knowledge, information, ideas, technologies for disaster risk reduction. It will also act as a think tank for the central government and also assist the state governments and the other local governments to work on disaster risk reduction and resilience. As part of that mandate, we are working on it. So we will be getting the inputs from all of you through your feedback. And my colleagues from the Geometeorological Risk Management Division will try to coordinate this activity and facilitate your interactions with the experts. With these words, I wish all the best to the distinguished speakers, dignitaries, and the delegates of this particular webinar, and hope you will have some takeaway points for your implementation and practices. With these words, I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity and helping us organize this program in this manner. So thank you very much, and I wish all the best to everyone. Thank you, Raju. Back to you.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful inaugural address. Thank you very much, sir. So now moving to the technical session, like Professor Surya Prakash sir has mentioned, that we have senior level resource persons, experts, like who has a very long and meaningful experience with them, and who will share their vast knowledge on the subject today in the technical session. So during this technical session, I will request all the participants to kindly raise your questions in the question answer chat box. We don't want this webinar to a one-way webinar. Rather, we want to take active participation and raise and show your participation by raising as many questions as possible to the expert, because they have a lot to share from their vast experience. So you can make most of it by sharing your questions to them. So for our first presentation of the day, we have with us Sri Hirak Dattaji. He is ex-IOC, former ED OISD from MOPNG, and former advisor and head safety in Naira Energy. Mr. Datta has more than 37 years of experience in process design and engineering, operations, troubleshooting, safety management, and your project management and human resource management also at various refineries and at the corporate office of Indian Oil Corporation Limited. He has authored many national and international journals also, and he has presented at conferences around the world. Mr. Datta has earned a degree in chemical engineering from Jadavpur University and a condensed MBA at the Indian Institute of Management in Ahmedabad. So with these words, I would like to pass on the stage to you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Raju. A very, very good morning to all of you, Professor Surya Prakash, my co-speakers, and all the delegates, as well as to NIDM. I thank NIDM for giving me yet another opportunity to share my thoughts on this very important aspect of disaster management. This is my fourth such session with NIDM, so thank you very much. I will not be talking much on the natural calamity, disasters from natural calamity. I will be focusing on operational discipline, particularly focusing on oil and gas sector. So I am from oil and gas sector. I have 42 years of experience in oil and gas sector, 37 years in PSU, and 5 years in private companies. So I have seen the entire private and public sector working, particularly in the last, from 2011 to 2015, when I was heading Oil Industry Safety Directorate. So I've seen the public and private sector. I've also seen how things are being managed to enhance safety as well as to be prepared for disaster management system. I will share my presentation. Basically, I will be talking, as I mentioned, on operational discipline. Yeah, I will think, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
And the slides are visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is visible, sir.
I think on the corner side, there is some boxes coming. Let me remove that box.
Yes.
It's not getting removed.
You can drag it down, sir, otherwise.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, sir.
Just give me a minute, huh? It's not getting removed. Shit. Yeah, it's fine now. Is it fine now?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So, what I intend to do over the next, I think I have 30-35 minutes of time. I will talk about disaster risk reduction strategies in oil and gas sector, particularly focusing on gas business, because today I understand large number of participants are there from Mahanagar Gas, as well as also from academicians. So I will talk about disaster reduction strategies in the oil and gas sector. I will also share a case study on a natural gas pipeline explosion, and then a little bit talk about the disaster management techniques, and finally the way forward as to what we should do to ensure that the industry, the oil and gas industry, or any industry for that matter, can prevent the disasters, and if there is a disaster, what they should do to be in readiness to fight the disaster. During my last interaction with Indian Oil, I talked about the Bhopal gas disaster, because that was on 4th of December. So I talked about Bhopal gas disaster, and today Professor Surya Prakash ji has also talked about Bhopal gas disaster. This is one of the worst disasters the country has seen because of leak of highly toxic methyl isocyanate, and there was a series of problems in Union Carbide's plant in Bhopal. The most importantly, as Surya Prakash ji has said, that you were not prepared to face a disaster, and that as a result of that, tens of thousands of people died in that methyl isocyanate leak and leak from the Bhopal gas tragedy, and many thousands were injured. And this is one of the worst disasters the country has ever witnessed. This is one of the worst disasters the world has ever witnessed. So basically, when you talk about disaster reaction technique, it's a systematic approach of identifying, assessing, and reducing the risks. So it starts with identifying the risks for any industry, oil and gas industry, or fertilizer industry, or petrochemical industry, or any industry. Identifying the risk and assessing the risk is the first job. Once we can identify the risk and assess the risk, then we can have risk mitigation measures. And DRR also aims to reduce the socio-economic vulnerabilities and other hazards that trigger them. And that's where we failed in Bhopal gas disaster. We failed to reduce the socio-economic vulnerabilities, and therefore tens of thousands of people not only met with fatal accidents, not only died, but also tens of thousands of people were injured, were unwell. Oil and gas industry, friends, as you know, is highly hazardous. We handle highly flammable petroleum products, and oil and gas industry operates at a very high temperature, very high pressure. It operates at 500 degrees centigrade. The operating pressure is about 180 bars. Mahanagar gas, their gas system pressure is also at high, 45, 48 kg per centimeter square. So therefore, it's highly hazardous. And added to this, many of the oil and gas industry assets are old and aging. And particularly when you talk about the pipelines in our country, which has about 45,000 kilometers of pipelines, and about 30% of the 45,000 kilometer of pipeline has already met its designed operating life of 25 years. I'm not saying that if a pipeline has operated for 25 years, it cannot operate safely, smoothly for another 30 years. No, I'm not saying that. We can do it, provided we handle the things properly, we improve the reliability of these old aging assets. And therefore, one of the main challenges for the oil and gas industry, including refineries, are also old. I'm not only talking about the pipeline. Refineries are also old. The oldest refinery in the world is the Assam Oil, is our AOD, Assam Oil Division, Assam Digboy Refinery. It's more than 100 years old. And many in the Western world today even talk with surprise that how a 100-year-old refinery is still running. It's still running because we have taken care of its reliability. We have taken care of the asset integrity part. We have taken care. So therefore, it requires special attention to ensure that it runs reliably and to avoid major catastrophic incidents. Now, when you talk about risk reduction strategy in industry, this is well known. This triangle shows that we have at the bottommost is the PPE, is wearing of helmets, gloves, safety shoes, personal protective equipment. And then you have administrative coordinates giving various administrative dictums to enhance safety, to mitigate disasters, etc., etc. And then we have actual controls. I'm not saying these two are not actual controls. These two are the least preferred option. But most preferred options are engineering and technical controls. That's paramount in our industry or any industry. How strong we have our engineering and technical controls. If you want to improve our operational discipline, if you want to achieve operational excellence, we need to have engineering controls and technical controls. And therefore, Mr. Surya Prakash has said, and as Honorable Prime Minister have also talked about it, adapting state-of-the-art technology is paramount. Unless we have state-of-the-art technology, we will not be able to ensure smooth, reliable operations. So then we can also isolate the risk, substitute the risk, or eliminate the risk. And therefore, inherent safe design is very, very important. Now, when we talk about this, there are three important parameters. Important parameters are design. We need to have a very, very strong design of any installation, be it oil and gas installation, be it a steel plant, be it a fertilizer factory. Until and unless design of the plant is very, very robust, we will not achieve excellence. Number two important thing is operations. Not only our design must be robust, not only our design must incorporate various layers of protection into it, but we must know the nitty-gritties of operation. We must know what happens if there is a problem in operation, how to face those the problems in operations. Nitty-gritties of operation is very important. So understanding operation, understanding nitty-gritties of operation is very, very important, besides a robust design. And third important thing, which is very important, is the maintenance. We may have the best of the design, we have the best of the Mercedes car, but if you don't maintain it, you have the best of the equipment in our industry, but if you don't maintain it, then we are asking for a big problem. So therefore, design must be robust, we must know how to operate, and we must be able to maintain the various assets which we have in our organizations. If we don't maintain, now Bhopal gas tragedy took place because we did not maintain things properly. I'm not going to talk about Bhopal disaster today. We have not maintained. So therefore, since we have not maintained things properly, gas disaster took place, Bhopal gas incident took place. So therefore, and the fourth important aspect is the human resources. We need to train, educate, and therefore I thank NIDM for organizing this series or program where we are talking about capacity building up. Training, education, that's paramount. Until and unless the people in the organization, they are educated, they are trained, they are motivated, I'm afraid nothing is going to happen. Design could be the best. We may know how to operate. We have well geared up maintenance techniques. Today we have reliability-centric maintenance. We have risk-based inspection. Modern tools are available with us. We use in the industry. But for that, we need people. We need human resources. We are motivated, we are trained, we are educated, because ultimately it's the people who moves the process, who moves the technology. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen and friends, the most preferred option is the engineering technical controls, substitute the risk, eliminate the risk through inherent safe design. So when you talk about emergency response risk assessment, this is well known to everybody. We must address these violet areas where the severity, likelihood of a incident to happen is 5, that is very, very high, and the severity is very high, so it's A5. A5 means it is very, very risky. Now if this A5, AE, AF and all these areas which I am showing over here, these are the areas which are very, very risk prone. So therefore our job would be to assess the risk of these operational areas in various industry and come out with the mitigation measures. So therefore, important thing is how to reduce the risk. I say that we must stick to the fundamentals. We must stick to the fundamentals. Keep it simple. It's not a complex thing, but we must stick to the fundamentals. And what are those fundamentals? Design, fabricate, and install all facilities and equipment in accordance with applicable industry codes and recognize best practices. Now we are coming, when we are procuring various equipment, are we following the standards, that is ASME standards, American Society of Mechanical Engineers standards, or API standard, or Indian-based standards? So therefore, we need to design, fabricate, and all instruments and facilities as per the industry codes and recognize best practices. We must operate the facilities and equipment. Most of the facilities and equipment we must operate with design tolerances and safe envelopes. Our equipment, the facility has been given that we must operate within this design pressure and design temperature. Now, if you exceed the design pressure and design temperature, we are going to have an unsafe situation, and that unsafe situation may lead to catastrophic event and even could lead to disaster. This safe design limit is very, very important. In Bhopal gas cage, let me talk again about Bhopal gas cage. We have stored 55 tons of methyl isocyanide, which was not required. Only 5 tons of methyl isocyanide was required to be stored, and we stored huge quantity. Inventory of methyl isocyanide was very, very high, which was beyond the normal circumstances, and that led to one of the main reasons for the disaster. Never keep the critical safety instrument systems and interlock bypassed. Many places we have seen that the safety interlocks are kept bypassed and run for achieving the throughput. Now, that's the wrong thing to do. Throughput is important. Sales are important. The meeting the targets are important, but not at the cost of keeping safety interlocks, critical safety systems bypassed. Improve reliability of assets. And I have mentioned that go for reliability-centric maintenance, go for risk-based inspection, go for predictive maintenance. The huge equipment, the supercritical equipment in our industry, the booster compressor in the Mahanagar gas or in any of the gas stations. Now, the booster gas compressors are very, very important and supercritical equipment. Are we maintaining them properly? The hydrogen gas compressors in refineries, they are very, very supercritical equipment. Are we maintaining them properly? So we need to do continuous conditioning monitoring of the supercritical equipment and predict them as to when we should do the maintenance. Because if this equipment fail because of journal bearing or thirst bearing failure, it's not only a huge loss, but also this may lead to a severe catastrophic incident. Analyze equipment failures to determine the cause. Why did it happen? Most of the time, we don't analyze. And if you don't analyze, then we are inviting problem. If there are frequent process upsets, now when you talk about operational discipline, we must identify why these process upsets are going in place. Now, if there are frequent process upsets, go into the deep root cause as to why did it happen. But many industries don't do. Today, there is a change in the stance. We need to go into root cause analysis. Don't treat a fever with paracetamol. That's not going in the root cause. You are treating the only the fever. But the fever could be because of malaria, could be because of typhoid. So you have to go to the deep root cause into it and then treat the patient. So paracetamol is not an answer for a fever. So similarly, you have to go for the investigation, find the root cause, and treat the patient accordingly. Similar is true for our industry also, and focus on training and education. We need to retrain our employees. We need to retrain ourselves. Focus on educating the people. So these are the few points. If we stick to these fundamentals, we'll ensure reliable operation, and therefore we can avoid disasters. Okay, so treat failure statistics in an actuarial manner. That's the point. We have witnessed several major catastrophic incidents in our country as well as outside. Bhopal gas tragedy, Deepwater Horizon, Piper Alpha, Jaipur terminal fire, Tatipaka natural gas explosion, and LG Chem. Very recently, we have LG Chem styrene gas leak, in which styrene leaked from the storage tank again, and this is a reminiscence of Bhopal gas tragedy, in which there was a multiple fatality. And many animals lost their life. And you know, a styrene gas leaking, why did it leak? Because polymerization reaction took place in the styrene storage tank. And why didn't we prevent this polymerization reaction? Because we failed to maintain the temperature. We failed to inject the inhibitor, which reduces the polymerization reaction. So therefore, we need to go into deep root cause and look into the system and take actions so as to avoid such catastrophic incidents. I will share one case study to give you a proper perspective. And this has happened, a catastrophic failure in a natural gas pipeline. Look at the pipeline, how the pipeline, the fish mouth opening of the pipeline, and look at the environment, the damage which the explosion caused to the environment. Look at the surrounding, the entire trees, the palm trees around, they entirely got damage, and there were multiple fatalities. Let's have a look at the incident. An incident of fire followed by explosion took place in a pipeline carrying natural gas. Now, this is the natural gas. Mahanagar gas is there, so I have talking about a natural gas case study. It resulted in multiple fatalities. The fire took place in the early morning. Background is very, very important. The source of ignition was a nearby shop. The shop owner lighted the stove for making tea early in the morning, and then there was gas present around, and there was an explosion. I will tell you as I go along as to how did it happen. It took more than 3 hours for firefighters from many, many places to extinguish the fire. The pipeline, the gas pipeline, which is 18-inch natural gas pipeline, was passing below a canal. It was observed that there was water and condensate along with the natural gas pipe. Now, test report of the gas line also indicated presence of CO2. Now, when you have, I will talk to about it a little on. The pipeline was operating at a lower capacity. Now, at lower capacity, a pipeline operating means it's operating at a lower velocity. And my friends know that when it operates at a lower velocity, there are more chances of internal corrosion. Added to it, we have water and CO2, which leads to bicarbonic acid, very weak bicarbonic acid. And therefore, there was internal corrosion noted in the pipeline. We also noticed, I was part of the investigation team along with my ministry friends. So some damage was also noted in the external coating. Now, for the pipeline, don't bury and forget it. Pipelines are not for burying and forgetting it. Pipelines are need to bury and worry for it. It is the safest mode of transportation. It is the most economic mode of transportation, but we need to manage those things properly. So some damage was also noted in external coating, and this is very important. There were past incidents of leak at 6 o'clock position. Many times there were leak at 6 o'clock position below the canal. And every time the operator repaired the pipeline by clamping clamping the pipeline. You understand clamping? Clamping means putting iron around the neck around the leak to prevent the leakage, because we don't want to. The operator didn't want to lose the throughput, and therefore there were 6 or 7 times leak at 6 o'clock position, and every time clamping was done at a high pressure pipeline. Important thing is that the pipeline was operating at a pressure of 45 kg. The gas from the oil head at a 45 kg pressure the gas was put in the pipeline for supplying to the downstream industry at far-flung places, cross-country pipeline to power plant to petrochemical plants. So the gas pipeline, a cross-country pipeline at a high pressure, was supplying natural gas to downstream industry in a power plant, etc. What happened is one early morning, profuse natural gas leak took place from the clamped 6 o'clock position of the pipeline. Now, everybody will say natural gas is escape, but it did not escape because it was a very, very overcast morning, as you could have seen in the photograph. It was an overcast morning. The lighting of the stove provided the source of ignition, and devastating fire followed by huge explosion took place, and as a result, multiple fatalities and many palm trees over large areas totally burned, including huge loss of property. Thank God there was a school nearby. It happened early in the morning. If the school was running, if the school started, the catastrophe would have been much larger scale. So where did we went wrong? First important thing is, as I mentioned, is the maintenance philosophy. Number of times there was a leak in the high pressure pipeline at 6 o'clock position. And when we saw the pipeline, when we inspect the pipeline, it was almost paper thin. So improper maintenance practice adopted by the operator, clamps in the high pressure pipeline is unheard of. A 45 kg pipeline, if you go restore to clamping instead of replacing the pipeline through proper maintenance and inspection, clamping every time, that has led to a very as I said, the paper thinning of that entire area. As a result, there is a fish mouth opening of the pipeline. Malfunctioning of the sectionalizing valves. Now, in a cross-country pipeline, to reduce the extent of damage, there are sectionalizing valves to isolate the section of the pipeline from where the gas is leaking, but the remote operated sectionizing valve did not operate, and the employee or the worker had to go manually to close the isolation valves. They could close the isolation valves, but remote operated valves did not operate, so one had to go and manually close the valve. And as a result, precious time was lost, lot of gas escaped, and gas continued to burn. Operational philosophy: proper pigs were not used for cleaning the pipeline. Instead of using scraper pig, which is normally should be used for cleaning the pipeline, every cross-country pipeline requires cleaning. Foam pigs were used, which is not the correct pig to do. Pigging was not carried out at regular intervals, and pig residue analysis, which is very important, which tells us the iron content in the pig residue, which should have given operator that yes, there is an internal corrosion going on. Pig residue was not analyzed. Design consideration: this is paramount. As I said, the pipeline was designed for handling dry natural gas, but instead it handled wet natural gas. Why? Designer provided in his design a dryer. So designer provided a dryer in his design, but due to some reason or to complete the project quickly, dryer was not installed. And as a result, instead of dry gas, wet gas was being handled in the cross-country pipeline, which contained H2O and CO2 forming bicarbonic, forming weak carbonic acid. So corrosion due to carbonic acid, accumulation of water, CO2 at the lowest point, and that led to the failure of the pipeline. And other important thing is the intelligent pigging survey. My friends from Mahanagar Gas Limiters are listening. The IPS was conducted 4 years prior to the failure. It indicated that metal loss and the vicinity of the canal. But the IPS report, and this is what I tell all my industry friends, we are doing various type of analysis, various type of reports, but we must read the document. Don't keep aside those important reports. IPS said that there is a metal loss. The IPS said, this is very important, IPS suggested doses of corrosion inhibitor to mitigate internal corrosion, but this was not done. We did the IPS by incurring huge amount of money, but that IPS report was not utilized. As a result, the catastrophic incident took place. And as a result, there was a catastrophic incident and disaster in the area. So what are the lessons we have learned? That's very, very important. Scraper pigging must be done at regular intervals. Instrument pig survey must be carried out once in 10 years. Corrosion coupons must be installed in all pipelines. And in case internal corrosion rate is more than 1 billion MPa per year, corrosion inhibitor must be injected. That's very, very important. Pipeline integrity management should be prepared, institutionalized, and followed for assuring the health of the pipeline. Now, leak detection system should be provided in the pipeline. And today we are going for a lot of contract-related work, which will be reality. So we have to depend on contractors. But over-dependence on third-party agencies should be avoided. We need to supervise, we need to strengthen our own supervision. And I have seen in the oil and gas industry, 84% of accident takes place because of disregard to the standard operating procedure, because of violence of work permit system, and because of poor supervision. In other words, 84% of incidents could be avoided if we have improved our supervision, if you have not violated the work permit system, and if you have paid respect to the standard operating procedures. All encroachment and construction in ROU must be removed. Presence is a major hazard for safe. So that of course, for that we need the help of the state administration, as Professor Surya Prakash ji has mentioned. The disaster preparedness and disaster management is not only the job of the operator, but also the other stakeholders. So these encroachments which have come up subsequently, for example, in many of the refineries, marketing terminals, which were when they are constructed, there was no encroachment around. But today, a lot of jhuggi, jhupris, chaiwala, etc., has come up along the ROU or outside the perimeters of the boundary wall, which need to be removed, not by the state administration. So any change with respect to design parameter, we need to do management of change. That is very, very important. Dehydration facility must be provided for removal of water and condensate from all such areas. and pipeline which are in service for 25 years, residual life assessment must be done. That's very, very important. And therefore, many of the pipelines are running greater than 25 years because of this work. Guwahati-Siliguri pipeline is operating for 60 years. And in USA, many of the pipelines, USA have 4.5 million pipeline. 4.5 million miles of pipeline, and many are more than 50 years old, and they're operating properly because of proper reliability centric maintenance and proper maintenance and inspection. Feed analysis, IPS, pressure testing, CP monitoring, soil testing. These are some of the important things. Now, when you supply city gas distribution, soil testing is very, very important. What is the type of the soil? CP monitoring is very, very important. These are some of the important things which we need to do so as to ensure that there are no catastrophic incidents in our industry. But aftermath of incidents, what did the operator do? Now, this is very important thing. What the operator do to prevent disaster? It happened once, but it should not happen again. So what did the operator do? They installed corrosion equipments. They installed online moisture analyzers. They removed all clamps and replaced the pipeline sections. So all clamps which were there in that area, they have been removed. Installation of dehydrators for gas suppliers, increased frequency of cleaning pigging and intelligent pigging. This has been done to prevent disaster, aftermath of the incident. GIS mapping of all cross-country pipeline. Increased frequency of pipeline patrolling. In India, there have been cases, or in many other countries, there have been cases where we have what do you call unauthorized tampering of the pipeline. So the unauthorized tampering, how do you control it? You can do it by increasing the frequency of pipeline monitoring. Review and validation of all standard operating procedures by international agencies. So the operator took a huge number of steps to prevent disasters, and thankfully, after the Tatipaka incidents, no other incident of such magnitude took place in this company or in many of the oil and gas companies. That's a very wonderful thing which has happened. 5-digit toll-free number for repeating emergency. That's very, very important. In oil and gas industry, it's important. Highly inflammable. As soon as there is an emergency, as soon as there is a fire, we must try to douse the fire at its nascent stage itself. And therefore, the oil and gas industry has mutual aid partners. That's very, very important. My own resource may not be good enough to fight the fire, and therefore we have mutual aid resources. IOC had with BPC, HPC, GAIL has with IOC, ONGC, oil, BPC, HPC. So these mutual aid partners, along with the state fire departments, come and quickly mitigate the fire, quickly douse the fire. Scheme for monitoring and quick reporting of pipeline incidents through villagers, and that's a huge step, because ultimately the stakeholders, the villagers, they give us feedback as to what's going on, who is trying to do unauthorized tampering in the pipelines. Okay, those are important things, and villagers' intelligence. So the company has taken a lot of pain to prevent future disasters. Those are important things, aftermath of the incidents. Apropos all these incidents, a number of control measures. Now, these are some technological changes in respect of hardware and software upgradation have taken place to reduce the consequences and severity of risk in entire oil and gas industry. I will share some of the hardware and software upgradation which has been done in the entire oil and gas industry, including the upstream, downstream, and midstream sector. And these are some of the obsolete equipment has been like hammer blind. Now, Jaipur had taken place because of the hammer blind. So those hammer blinds in all the areas, in all the refineries, in all the marketing terminals, in all the upstream, hammer blind has been replaced with double block and riddle valve. Additional layers of protection incorporated to avoid spillages and tank overflow. Now, the problem is, if there is a tank overflow, the Boonsfield disaster happened because MS overflowed from the tank. And if MS overflows from the tank, there will be, because MS is highly volatile, and that resulted in a massive fire in the Boonsfield in UK. So now we have incorporated layers of protection, additional layers of protection. We have high level alarm, high level alarm, and then a automatic hardware switch which will actuate automatically and stop the inlet valve. As a result, there will be nil chance of tank overflowing. Safety instrumentation and seal level that has been incorporated. We have today two gauges, level gauges in the tank. one is radar gauge, one is the servo gauge. We have risk-based inspection and reliability-centric maintenance to improve asset integrity. As I've mentioned, asset integrity is very, very important. Go for RBI, go for RCM, and my upstream friends are going for risk-based inspections, because the oil in the upstream, exploration in the upstream rigs, they are continuously attacked by the saline environment, because the atmospheric is highly salinating. So they're going for risk-based inspection, identifying which are the networks which have been affected and replacing or doing proper maintenance. Condition monitoring of supercritical equipment, as I've mentioned, and focus has been on automation, digitization, and inherent safe design. So you are focusing on automation, reducing the human intervention. So through automation, through digitization, and by incorporating inherent safe design, which has been incorporated in large number in all the oil and gas industry, entire marketing terminals today are totally automated. Not only totally automated, they're digitized. Headquarters can see what is going on in a retail outlet. Sitting at Bombay or sitting at Delhi, you can see what's happening in a retail outlet. So these are some of the hardware upgradation which has taken place. Software upgradation which has taken place is renewed thrust on training and retraining of not only our own employees, contract laborers. Important to know that as a principal employer, our responsibility is also towards our contract workers, contract laborers, to train them, educate them. That's very, very important. And I'm happy to share that the entire oil and gas industry is keeping a tremendous focus on training and retaining of not only their own, but also to its contract laborers. Simulator-based training on advanced technologies. Now today, state-of-the-art technology has been taken in our oil and gas industry. So if you have state-of-the-art technology, you need to train them by simulator-based training. Simulator-based training are going on in the oil and gas industry. Focus is on reporting of near-miss incidents and leading indicators. We don't talk only about lagging indicators, that in my industry for the last 5 years or last 2 years, no incident took place. No, that's not important. Yesterday's safe record does not guarantee tomorrow will be safe, and it can only be safe provided we focus on leading indicators as to how many safety valves are kept bypassed, how many safety interlocks are kept bypassed. Are we reporting the near-miss incidents and learning from this near-miss incidents? That's very, very important. Are we doing the job safety analysis? Now, the lot of maintenance works are done by the contract workers. So are we doing the job safety analysis and telling what sort of toolbox talk that what mitigation measures they must take when they are working with the electrical line or when they're working with mechanical maintenance work? That is job safety analysis. Identifying the risk and telling the workers, hey, you must take such preventive actions. Observing task, that's very, very important. Observe the task. Another important thing is communication. Many incidents took place because of communication, and this is very important in mitigating disasters. If you don't properly communicate, we're inviting problems. So focus on being on communication. Development of emergency EDRMP, emergency disaster response and management plan. That's very, very important for every installation. And I'm happy to share all the refineries, all the marketing terminals have come out with ERDMP. And then conducting mock drills, both on-site and off-site. Regularly conducting mock drills, once in a quarter, on-site mock drill, twice in a year, conducting off-site mock drills. Now, this mock drills helps us in improving our preparedness. Do a mock drill on various situations, and then see how prepared we are, how prepared our system are to take care of any sort of emergency. So therefore, debriefing sessions are very, very important. After the mock drill, do a debriefing session with the people concerned and tell them where we went wrong. Another two important things which has taken place in oil and gas industry is upgradation of firefighting infrastructure. The firefighting infrastructure was poor. We had only 144 cubic meter of water monitors to fight fire. That was not a good thing to have 144 cubic meters of water monitors to fight fire in oil and gas industry. Today we have high volume, long range monitor, HV alerts. remote operated HV alerts, 2000 GPM, 5000 GPM capacity. Now, tomorrow we need to, and that's one of the plan of oil industry, to go for 10,000 GPM HV alerts. Big water. To the pipeline, to monitor size, the hose size is 4-inch. 4-inch hose size will not be adequate. We have to go for 8-inch or 10-inch hose size. Big water concept. We need to bring these are the two things we need to incorporate. But many of the things have been changed. We have 2,000, 5,000 GPM HV alerts. We have MEFG. Many modern firefighting gadgets have taken into a system. Another important thing is quantitative risk assessment after every 3 years. That's very, very important. But the important thing is, which I need to highlight, is there are mushroom of consultants who are doing QRA. They are not doing a good job. I have seen many of the QRA. So please do the QRA by an agency, by a consultant who have the necessary wherewithals with them. We have the necessary softwares with them to do the quantitative risk assessment. If you are not doing a good job, you will not get a good result. That's important. So therefore, for disaster management, they have
Excuse me, sir.
today. Yes, sir.
Sir, due to time constraints, just
I will complete it in another 5 minutes. So we have all these are all well-known: Factories Act, MSHIC, Chemical, ERDMP. So ERDMP regulation framed under PNGRB Act, level 1, level 2, and level 3. So these are preparation of on-site this thing ERP by owner and off-site by DM. So there are 3 levels. Level 1 is on-site emergency, which can be managed and contained effectively and safely within the site with the available resources. No impact goes to the outside. Level 2 is which cannot be managed and contained effectively and safely within the site, and therefore you require the help of mutual aid partners to overcome such type of problems. So potential for off-site emergency. And level 3 type of emergency is where emergency with off-site catastrophic impact. Now, the styrene gas leak was a catastrophic, was a level 3 disaster. The case study which I shared is a level 3 disaster. So management and control is by district authorities. Now, I quickly go through it. This is well known performance improvement cycle. We start with the risk identification, then planning and control. This is very, very important. Planning and control is very, very important. We have ERDMP, we have mock drills. I talked in detail. Then we have implementation and operation, situation assessment, protect life and assets, implement the plan. And finally, we have management evaluation. You need to evaluate the plan. We need to debrief and we need to restore and repair. So when you are talking about the performance improvement cycle, starts with risk identification, planning and control, implementation operation, and management evaluation. Evaluate how did the plan work through debriefing sessions and management review. This is the model for effective crisis management, which is done, must be done at every institute. And finally, barriers to effective combination are effective management are denial and failure to prioritize. Most of the time we are in denial mode. So if you are in denying and failure to prioritize, we'll have problem. Lack of experience and potential risk, inadequate systems, procedures. If you have inadequate systems or procedures, it's a big problem. And other important thing is unwillingness to share experience. Most of the companies today they are sharing, but at good old times, they won't share their success story. Now, if you don't share your success story or even failure story, we need to learn from these failure stories. So we need to share the experiences so that we can learn from each other. Failure of leadership and communication. If leadership is not committed, job of a leader is not only to ask for the results, job of a leader is to provide resources, is to enthuse the team, is to reward the team, is to walk the talk, is to become a role member, role set member. That's the job of a leader. Create a team and communicate properly. Communicate with everybody. Each one of us a leader at every level. We have a circle of influence, and our circle of two must work in our circle of influence. Communicate properly. Act as a leader. I have confidence and trust in me, I also have confidence and trust in my subordinates. And that's how we can build team. We need to do that. Finally, emergency preparedness plans, being ready. There are three important things: people, preparedness, and testing. So preparedness is analyze your ability to respond quickly and effectively for the possible crisis most relevant to you. For every industry must do it. And number three is testing. That means whatever plan we have made to fight the possible crisis, it must be rehearsed in the simulated crisis and see to it and where there are gaps and overcome the gaps. Challenges of emergency: time is the key element, people are the priority, team formation in decision making is paramount. Decision making is paramount. We cannot lose time. We cannot lose time. Take decisions, and crucial importance of objectivity. This is the role of ERTL. This is known, so I'm not going to repeat it. Challenges and way forward for the CGD business. These are the last two slides. The CGD business have various challenges. The challenges are broadly classified into setting up of gas distribution network. City gas distribution, one of the main challenges is how to set up the gas distribution network and operation and maintenance of the network. These are the two main challenges before the city gas operates. Because there are major threats because of third-party damage, diversion of charge line due to development activities. Many development activities are taking place in the city, so we need to change to divert the charge line. That's what's one of the challenges. Network in the vicinity of other utilities and public. That's a great challenge and threat to the city gas pipeline. Encroachment of local infrastructure, pipeline corrosion, and competency level of the contractors. We are doing their job, so therefore we need to improve the competency level of our contractors. City gas distribution has these threats, and these are some of the challenges. With respect to and operational security with respect to CGD is deployment of emergency team at strategic locations. We need to set up the emergency team at strategic location, because in the city gas, if something happens, gas leak or gas fire, then we need to quickly respond. So emergency control room, 24/7 network patrolling, this must be done, is a challenge. Regular preventive maintenance of the equipment, the huge booster competitors, we need to do it regular properly. As I have mentioned, safety mock drills, I have talked in detail, I'm not repeating it. Display of do's and don'ts, that must be done. An important thing is continuously do the safety audits. Regular safety audits are very, very important. Last slide, to enhance effectiveness, we need to do continuous monitoring. Things which are monitored gets implemented. So to mitigate disaster, we need to continuously monitor. Enhance reliability. We need to enhance reliability. We need to adapt state-of-the-art technology and assimilate the state-of-the-art technology. Not only adapt the state-of-the-art technology, not only incorporate the state-of-the-art technology, assimilate the state-of-the-art technologies. Close coordination with all stakeholders. We are working with various stakeholders. Since we are going for mutual aid partners, we need to have good coordination with the state law and order, state fire machineries, fire department, and also with the villagers, etc., etc. Close coordination with all stakeholders. Conducting regular mock drills and debriefing sessions, as I mentioned, is very important. Focus on training and retraining. That's very, very important. And therefore, the thing which NIDM is doing is really praiseworthy. And last but not the least, which is very, very important, is leadership commitment. Until and unless leaders are committed, things won't move. So leadership commitment is very, very important. Thank you, friends. This is what I wanted to say to you. Be safe and take care. In case you have questions, you can write to my mail, or I will answer some of the questions in the chat box right now. Thank you. These are some of the actions if you take, we'll be able to be prepared and respond disasters or unsafe situation in our gas industry properly, in the oil and gas industry properly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful presentation and highlighting about the in your presentation talking about the disaster risk reduction in oil and gas sector. And like you mentioned, oil and gas sector is highly hazardous, and it deals with various highly flammable petroleum products and operate at very high temperature and pressure. And also, sir has very wonderfully given some excellent examples and share some lesson learned and way forward. Sir, there are actually several questions, sir, but due to time constraints, sir, I will just restrict myself to one question, sir.
Yeah.
The question is from Sir Dr. Ara. He wants to. The question is whether that Visakhapatnam styrene gas, whether it was
Yes.
a natural. How did it result? It resulted from natural or some human error?
No, I will tell you. Nothing is human error. The styrene gas is supposed to be stored at minus 20 degrees centigrade. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Styrene gas is supposed to be stored at minus 20 degrees centigrade to avoid polymerization reaction. Because once polymerization reaction starts, who has asked me that question? Polymerization reactions, Dr. Ara.
Yes.
Dr. Ara, once polymerization reaction takes place, polymerization reactions are highly exothermic. That will lead to rise in temperature. So therefore, designer had provided a refrigeration system to keep the styrene at minus 20 degrees centigrade. For some reason or not, every day after 5 p.m., the refrigeration system was closed, and there was no alternate source to keep the storage tank and the styrene in the storage tank to keep cool. So therefore, we put off the refrigeration system, and there was no alternate, so no interlock, and there was no pressure and temperature in the storage tank, in the tank which was storing this styrene. As a result, what happened is there was heat influx in the tank. And since there was a heat influx in the storage tank, the temperature started rising. Once temperature started rising, it resulted in a polymerization reaction. And once polymerization reaction started, as I mentioned, they are highly exothermic. As a result, there was huge temperature rise in the storage tank. And mind it, we are starting the plant after prolonged shutdown. Styrene incident took place after prolonged shutdown. So we are starting the plant, and as you have not monitored certain things, the temperature of the tank. The other important thing is one should always add polymerization inhibitor in the storage tank. This has been given in the operating condition. But when was the last polymerization inhibitor added into the styrene tank was not known. And the quantity of inhibitor which was added, that was not known. As a result, there was polymerization reaction and huge styrene gas leaked from the storage tank, which resulted in multiple fatality, etc., etc. So if you look at the incidents, 80% of the incidents takes place because of management failures. Please don't blame any individuals. Why didn't we maintain the temperature at minus 20 degrees centigrade? What was the reason for not maintaining? Why the polymerization inhibitor was not? These are some of the points to ponder. I'm not blaming anybody. These are some of the points to ponder. Why didn't we maintain minus 20 degrees centigrade? Why there was not an interlock system so as to trigger the cooling system? Why the inhibitor was not added to stop the polymerization reactions? So it did not happen because of a single individual's failure. It's a management failure, to my point of view.
Thank you.
I think I have some more questions.
Sir, so I will pass on the question, sir, to you, sir, later on chat.
Okay. Or you can also write me in my Gmail.
Okay, sir.
I will reply.
Okay,
I will
thank
reply
you.
the question. Thank you very much. Thank you. I hope
Thank you.
I hope it has gone well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So now moving ahead for our next presentation, we have with us Sri S.P. Gargji. He is the advisor HSE GAIL India Limited and former executive director GAIL India Limited. He has more than 36 years of experience in the field of fire and safety. Dr. Garg is also the recipient of President Fire Service Medal. So with these words, I would like to pass on the stage to you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Raju Thapa.
Thank you, sir, for joining us.
And good morning, rather good afternoon. Now it's already 12 past. So good afternoon, all the delegates, my fellow speakers, and the organizers, Mr. Surya Prakash and others. Thank you for giving this opportunity, talking to you on this topic. Mr. Hiradatta has given very elaborate presentation, so a lot of things already got covered. So he has made my job easier. Let me share the presentation first. Yeah. So I'll be talking on disaster management in petroleum installations and pipelines. And the overview of presentation we talking about the Sendai framework on DRR. Of course, a lot have been talked already by Mr. Surya Prakash and others, so I will not detail it out. And understanding disaster risk in petroleum installations and pipelines. I will also focus on the hydrocarbon pipelines. How do we manage the integrity of these pipelines? Strengthening disaster risk resistance for risk resilience will be next topic. Then enhancing disaster preparedness for effective response and recovery, rehabilitation and reconstruction. And finally, I'll be touch upon the ERDMP plans and emergency trainings capacity building. Friends, as we all know, if we talk about the oil and gas sector, in fact, India is the world's fastest growing energy market, as we all know. And we have third largest total primary energy consumption in the world. If you talk about the oil and gas sector, this is among 8 core industries in India. And this accounts for around 35% of energy mix requirement in the country. We have a target to increase the share of natural gas in this energy mix from current 6.2% to 15% by 2030. So there is a huge expansion going on. I think friends from MGL and other CGD companies, they already know that huge expansion in the field of natural gas pipelines for city gas distribution happening. Even if you look at the oil, we are third largest consumer of crude oil in the world. We have second largest refinery in Asia, refining capacity in Asia, and fourth largest in the world. LPG coverage also, it has increased in India from earlier, about 5 years back, it was about 55% to now it is 97%. And CGD coverage, city gas distribution coverage, has increased to almost 70% of geographical area. As was mentioned, if you talk about the natural gas pipelines, in India, we have about 17,000 kilometers of natural gas pipelines, and new pipelines are being constructed, which will be, about 14,300 kilometers more pipelines are being constructed that will be available within 2-3 years time. And current capacity of handling natural gas is about 390 MMSCMD, million metric standard cubic meter per day is the capacity. If you look at the piped natural gas connections in India, we have more than 72 lakhs PNG connections. Even when we talk about MGL, because a lot of audience are from MGL, you have more than 1.27 million domestic connections in MGL, more than 4,000 commercial connections, 75 industrial connections. And overall in the country, if you look at the CNG stations, we have 2,290 CNG stations, out of which MGL also has got more than 257 CNG stations. And large number of CNG vehicles. In India, it is more than 37 lakhs. And MGL also serves more than 7.5 lakhs CNG vehicles. In fact, the largest CNG bus fleet in the world exists in India. So with this huge infrastructure and network of the pipelines, the risk is also high, and it is increasing day by day. So today's topic, we will try to understand that what are the major risks, how we are preventing these risks, what are the mitigation measures, and how the disasters are getting prevented in the hydrocarbon industry. To start with, I think we all know, just for the sake of repetition even, a disaster, what is disaster? It's a serious disruption occurring over a short period or long period and causing widespread human, material, economic or environmental losses, which go beyond the coping ability of the affected community or society. This is the definition given by Disaster Management Authority, NIDM. So many examples are there. Jaipur incident, even the LG polymer incident was mentioned, and many more incidents are there which have happened, which have caused huge losses to the humanity and huge property losses. In terms of definition with respect to industry, if we talk about, because we are talking about man-made disasters today, a disaster means an occurrence of such magnitude as to create situation in which the normal patterns of life within industrial complex get totally disrupted, and in certain cases affects the neighborhood also seriously, resulting into helplessness, sufferings, and need of food, shelter, clothing, medical attention, and other life-sustaining requirements. This is a broad definition, as we all understand. Now, what are the underlying factors why the disasters are happening or likely to happen? Rapid urbanization. We all know what happened around the Jaipur, petroleum depot. The population was not there earlier, but slowly they all came very close to the installation. As a result, there was losses, there were damages. High population growth, poverty, that is another reason. Because of poverty, people are even encroaching the pipeline ROUs. They are, as was mentioned, in the restricted area also the huts are being made, or people are just staying over there without bothering even for their lives. Rapid industrialization all over, lack of awareness. So, as was mentioned, the societal awareness, of late there is a lot of efforts in this direction. Capacity building is happening, societal awareness is increasing. NDMA, NIDM, and all, they are doing a lot of mock drills for the public to understand what are the risks, what are the hazards, how to handle the disasters, and environmental degradation. These are the underlying factors for the disasters. If you look at some of the figures, in the period 1998 to 2017, disaster hit countries reported the direct economic losses of more than 2,008 billion US dollar, of which climate-related disasters accounted for 2,245 billion dollar. So this is a huge figure, 2,908 billion US dollars. See, when we talk about the accidents related to safety, industrial accidents and all, it is said that all 4% of world's GDP is lost in that. But when we talk about the cost of disaster, it is much more than that. During the above period, 1.3 million people lost their lives, and 4.4 billion people, they were rendered homeless, displaced, or they were in need of emergency assistance. During this period, 563 earthquakes, including tsunamis, account for 56% of total deaths and all. Last 20 years have seen a dramatic rise of 150% in direct economic losses from the climate-related disaster. These are as per the UNISDR report 2019. So these are huge figures, and we have to be very, very sensitive on this subject. Now, Sendai framework, if we talk about, Mr. Suryaprakash already mentioned that it's a 15-year voluntary non-binding agreement that recognizes that the state has primary role to reduce the disaster risk, but that responsibility should be shared with other stakeholders like local government, private sector, other stakeholders. So these other stakeholders, the industry also fall under this category, other stakeholders. So we also have the responsibility to prevent the disaster risk, reduce the disaster risk. The aims for the Sendai framework were for substantial reduction of disaster risk and losses in lives, livelihoods, and health, and in the economic, physical, social, cultural, and environmental assets of people, businesses, communities, and countries. What were the major areas, thrust areas, 7 targets given by Sendai framework? There were 4 areas where substantial reduction was targeted. One is the substantially reduced global disaster mortality, substantially reduced number of affected people globally, to reduce the direct economic losses in relation to global GDP, and to substantially reduce disaster damage to critical infrastructure and disruption of basic services. These were 4 areas which were mentioned in the Sendai framework for substantial reduction. And there were another 3 areas for substantial increase. Substantially increase the number of countries with national and local disaster risk reduction strategies by 2020. Substantially enhance international cooperation to developing countries. And finally, substantially increase the availability and access to multi-hazard early warning system and disaster risk reduction information assessments. So in this direction, lot of job has happened and continuously happening. As you could see, the initiatives being taken by NIDM, the NDMA, and the other government agencies in these directions. Now, if we look at the disaster risk reduction in the petroleum installation and pipelines, what are the measures? Before a petroleum project comes up, there is always a rapid risk assessment. So operational and safety risk assessment and analysis are carried out, and mitigation methodology is put in place to minimize the risk so as to become as low as reasonably practicable level of plant and corporate in the petroleum installation. This is the overview of how we handle the risk. Right from the beginning, the assessment is done, and accordingly the mitigation measures are taken in the design itself. Now, if you want to look at how GAIL has done it, say broadly some disaster risk scenarios as brought out in the petrochemical plant or GPU's pipeline, one or two I have brought here. In petrochemical plant, catastrophic failure of hydrocarbon sphere storage tank. This was taken as one of the risks. Catastrophic failure of propane accumulator, possibility of catastrophic failure of ethylene tower reflux drum, failure of feed natural gas pipeline rupture. Then similarly in GPUs, catastrophic failure of hydrocarbon sphere storage tanks, feed natural gas pipeline rupture, catastrophic propane accumulator. Then in pipeline installations, 20% full bore rupture of above underground pipelines. Considering these individual scenarios, the risk were assessed, mitigation measures were taken accordingly. In case of pipelines, there are various threats and risks. Some are time dependent. For example, they because of the external corrosion, because of internal corrosion, stress corrosion cracking, and stable risk. For example, manufacturing related defects in the pipelines, welding, fabrication related risk, equipment related risk, and time independent risk. Third party mechanical damage which could happen during handling of the pipelines or even after the pipeline because of the third party intervention. Incorrect operational procedure, that also is, as was mentioned, that not following the SOP also lead to serious accident and could lead to a disaster. Then weather related and outside related, these different kind of risks and the regions which could lead to the disasters. As we all know, hydrocarbons are highly flammable substance and they are transported through cross-country pipeline at very high pressure, and often they are at very close to the high population area, so they cause risk to the environment and the population in that area. So there are various to handle these risks safely. I will talk about those later. Then challenges in CGD pipeline. We have since a lot of people from Mahanagar. The pipelines in the old cities, there are space constraints, there are busy roads, there are inadequate infrastructure, there are multiple utilities. There have been so many cases of CGD gas line puncturing by third parties, in spite of having rules, in spite of having times by the state administration or the district administration, that before you any third party has a civil job, they must take clearance from the pipeline operator. Many times it doesn't happen. No availability of integrated clearance pipeline laying, lesser control on access, heavy urbanization, less public awareness and presence of NGOs, dependency on outsourced manpower. Almost 80% or more the manpower is outsourced. So there is a lot of dependency on those people who are actually not, sometimes they are not literate, they are sometimes not skilled enough to handle these specialized jobs. Then third party excavation, as I already mentioned. And if any incident happen, or even sometimes there is some nearby the pipeline, any media house will pick it up and put it on the national television and other medias that there is a leakage, without even verifying that actual leakage is there or not. So this kind of risk is there in today of the pipelines, hydrocarbon pipelines. Delay in emergency response. If any emergency has happened and the response is not in time, then also it could lead to serious accidents. What are the challenges especially in the city gas pipelines? Now, how do we maintain the integrity of these pipelines? Because sometimes these cross-country pipelines and thousands of kilometers, how do you maintain the pipeline integrity and what are the key areas? I'd like to touch some of the areas, but time is not that much. So when we talk about the pipeline integrity, the design and construction, we talk about operation and maintenance, and effects. So there are a lot of threats and risks during these construction, operation and maintenance. So how to counter those threats? You have the mitigation measures. You bring out reliability and effectiveness in the pipeline operation and maintenance. You bring an energy management system in place so that specific area, what are the risks, what are the mitigation measures, they can be continually assessed and improved upon. You analyze your threats from time to time and take mitigation measures accordingly. So if we look at some of the integrity management tools, the speaker also mentioned some of those, like we have the inline inspection tools for knowing the health of the pipeline from inside. These are very intelligent tools also, which can tell you immediately what are the defects in the pipeline which are developed from inside. Then for outside, you have the coating. Different kind of coating are there, and cathodic protection is also there. The regular surveillance, inside pigging, then direct assessment, evaluations, and thickness assessment and periodic reviews. These are the tools, the procedures to actually maintain the integrity of the pipelines. During design and construction, mainline sectionizing walls are provided so that in case of any failure of pipeline or third-party intervention, you can isolate a section of the pipeline and limit the risk to that area only. These walls are generally remote operated walls, and in fact now populated areas, for example city area and all, even auto actuated valves have been provided, which will operate automatically with the change in the pipeline pressure. Then all the pipelines have the pigging facility for internal cleaning, 4-inch and above, and 10 kilometer and above, and you have this kind of provision. Automatic, as I was mentioning, adequate safety instrument system and transition facility for stations. Then in case of LPG pipeline, you also have hot flaring system, so that if we have to evacuate certain section of pipeline because of some regions, that can be done. When you lay a pipeline, you have to acquire a certain area, a strip of land, maybe 20 meter wide, 30 meter wide, depending on the pipeline size. That is called right of way, ROW or ROU, whatever you call it. So that is taken, and in that area only the pipeline is buried, and generally it is 1 meter or below, and no permanent construction can be made in this ROW area. Now these are inspected regularly. The road and highway crossings are inspected once in 3 months, river crossings twice in a year, ground patrolling, aerial patrolling, this kind of patrollings are done, so that in case of any encroachment or anybody damaging pipeline, immediately it can be identified. Pigging, I have already mentioned, there is 2 types of pigging: normal pigging, which is done once in a year, and intelligent pigging. Normal pigging or cleaning pigging also we call it. And intelligent pigging is done once in 10 years. Now, if you can look at this small video, this you give a flavor how the pipeline pigging is done, how the defects are identified through the intelligent pig. This is the inline tool. Which is loaded in the pipeline, and then it moves along the gas flow. As soon as there is a defect, it will immediately identify and give you information. Yeah, there is some general corrosion found, immediately rejected. Some deformation found the pipeline, and that has also been detected. So it moves like that. I will not show the full pipeline, full video. Now, for cathodic protection, there is a pipe to soil potential is measured at the fitting point. This is done once in a fortnight, and PSP reading at test lead points, that is also taken once in 3 months. This is necessary to maintain the sufficient potential in the system. Coating survey is done so that your coating is always intact. This is a view of the emergency equipment, emergency evacuation of LPG pipeline through a portable flare. It has a capacity of 6.3 tons per hour. These are installed at along the LPG pipeline sectionizing valve stations. Look, another video, small video, to understand pipeline technology, some of the areas.
A surveillance plane flies a pipeline rifle, a launch for. In this movie, we're looking at technology at work in pipelines, cathodic protection so the pipeline doesn't rust, how leaks and hazards are detected, critical inspections inside the pipeline, and the marvel of directional drilling. So let's begin. What if a machine were to damage a pipeline's protective coating? Bared steel would naturally turn to rust. Pipelines have protection against rust. Along the pipeline, they install what are called anodes and supply small amounts of electric current. The current flows through natural ground moisture to the pipeline and redirects where the corrosion will occur. Pipelines have been doing this for decades now. The current encourages the anodes to corrode. The pipeline becomes a cathode and is protected from rusting in case any steel has somehow become exposed. Pipelines have leak and hazard detection. In this new system, a continuous stream of data is collected and transmitted by next generation fiber optics. The fiber optic is both transmitting data and more importantly is actually acting as sensors on a fully distributed basis along the pipeline. Measures acoustic, strain, and temperature. Temperature accurate to within 1/100th of 1 degree. Pipelines are run from sophisticated control centers fed thousands of batteries. Let's say there's a heat bill from a forest fire. A display will appear in the control room and then a warning. What if someone tries to maliciously damage the pipe? The operator receives this bill. What if there's stress across the machine? The operator will get strained. Small licensing stream here simulated, and the control room gets a display and an alarm. Pipelines track detailed data about each length of the pipe. But now technology allows them to track more easily and reliably and track a lot more information. Pipelines depend on inline tools commonly called dip. Most times they're from brushes. But there are also snippets for early detection problems, bristling with technologies to identify where or cracks usually too small to see. Powerful magnetism. Hard drives and GPS tracking. The odometer measures to within millimeters for anomalies. This module sends sound waves along the pipe circumference. Multi-million-dollar tools to detect trouble appears in pipelines. Data from a smart pit brings us to look at horizontal drilling.
So I'll now skip this. because this is a little bit time is short. So you have seen how the pig actually looks like and how it works inside the pipeline. Now moving forward, what are the disaster risk reduction legal framework in India? There are rules and regulations in the Factories Act, MSIHC rules, then CA rules, Disaster Management Act, ERDMP 2010, Disaster Management Plan of MPNG, etc. are the legal requirements with respect to the disaster management in oil and gas sector. Now, these are further details. I will not go through it because of the shortage of time. Let's move forward. Especially in CGD safety, if we talk about, then PNGRB standard is a T4 standard, technical and safety standard for CGD natural gas pipeline, and OSD standard 226, which talks about natural gas transmission pipeline and city gas distribution network, and ASME 31.8 for gas transmission and distribution of piping systems. Again, coming back to give you a typical example of how the oil and gas works, like we have a HSE policy. Each oil and gas company has this kind of HSE policy, which has the intent of the top management, how they are going to handle the HSE management within the company. So these are some of the highlights: design, construct, operate, and maintain facilities as per the national and international standards, comply with the statutory rules, and go beyond. Then optimize HSE resources, implement occupational hygiene measures, make use of effective waste management system, etc., etc. Now, below that HSE policy, there is a HSE management system. Now, the process plants and the cross-country pipeline, they are designed as per the best Indian and international standards, as I mentioned, ASME, API, OSD standards, and then you have this kind of HSE management system. The proper layout and inter-system distances with the facilities is maintained as per the various OSD standards and PNGRB regulations, to be specific 118, 226, and 214 OSD standards. Then you have PLC and DCS based control system to ensure adequate control. Automatic emergency shutdown interlocks are provided. Leak detection system. Then supervisory control and data acquisition, that is SCADA. Mapping of pipelines in the GIS platform. This is very important that all the pipelines have been mapped on a GIS platform, through which, in case of any incident at one particular point, you can immediately know what are the emergency resources available nearby, what are the hospitals, who are the Gram Pradhans, what is the police station, what district administration in that area. That will be known immediately through this GIS mapping. Then these are standard measures which are provided in the plants and other facilities. Electrical equipment as per the electrical area classification, and remote operation valves in the main pipeline. Fire water system to fight two major fires anywhere in the facility. Early warning system like gas monitoring system, detectors, high level alarms, low pressure and high pressure alarms, etc. Then dike walls all around the storage tanks. Then installation of PSVs and TSVs to avoid overpressurization. Automatic fire detection system for critical equipment. Safe interlock bypass authorization system, so that nobody bypasses the interlocks without due authorization. Well-laid SOPs, as so being told that not following SOPs is a major reason for incident accidents. In GAIL, we took initiative to even make the animated films on SOPs, so that the operator is crystal clear what are the steps to be taken in a particular activity, and he can see and revise it again and again by seeing those animated films. Deployment of qualified and skilled manpower and the work permit system. These are some of the pictures of LPG storage, C2C3 storage, and the fire protection provided over that through high volume long range monitor and the automatic water spray system. These are other major use of walkie-talkies and visitor safety and all those measures. I will not go through everything. Visitor safety card is given, then visitor safety film is given, is shown at the main gate before any visitor enters the plant. Response preparedness, then mock drills are done, then you have emergency communication system, mutual aid agreement, you have practices regularly being done with the mock drills and the mutual aid partner, along with the mutual aid partner also. And the emergency information is available on the disaster management plan. Public campaign through radio jingle or even the nukkad nataks are being regularly done for the villagers. They are being sensitized what can go wrong and what is their role. We also have a GAIL Sayogi scheme through which some of the villagers through which the pipelines are passing, they are engaged with GAIL and with some amount of incentive given to them so that they becomes an eyes and ears, and in case of any leakage or any third party intrusion, they can immediately inform us. Then live firefighting training ground facilities, these are also developed so that people are ready to handle any emergency, any incident, and avoid them converting to disasters. Of various mock drills happening not only within the plant or facility, they're also happening with the disaster district administration and involve all these stakeholders. NDMA is also called so that they can give their valuable inputs if there are any drawbacks. And post mock drill, the review happens along with the in charge of the site. This is regularly happening. We have very detailed incident reporting system for quick reporting of incidents and whose role is what, it is very clearly given. And the 5-digit telephone number all over the country, 15101, can be called for any information in the emergency. This is a disaster management plan which has nodal officers and other alternate nodal officers. This is an important area. All over India, we have National Gas Management Center and Regional Gas Management Centers spread all over the country. This is to monitor the movement of gas through the pipelines, and in case of any emergency, they become a emergency control centers also. Instant leak detection happens with the help of remote terminal units and real-time data of all the pipeline parameters, supply, delivery conditions, and all the resources and major customer terminals is maintained through SCADA. Now, ERDMP has been already, this is applicable for upstream, downstream, midstream installations. This has been written down in detail in the PNGRB regulation. Then the scope is identification, mitigation measures, preparedness, response measures, then post-disaster recovery. I will not go into the detail. These are various clauses in the ERDMP. And recently ERDMP has been revised also, the regulation. Initially it was released in 2010, and 2019 we took up the revision. In fact, I happened to part of the revision committee as a chairing the committee, industry committee, and this has been notified again. We all know these are the 3 levels that are mentioned by our previous speaker. In case of GAIL, all the installations, the ERDMPs were prepared, they were third-party verified and submitted to the PNGRB board approval. And as we know, this kind of certificates are issued, and in case of pipeline, every 3 years, it has to be, in case of process plant, every 3 years, ERDMP is to revise, and pipeline every 5 years. These are the views of some of the photos of ERDMP. The cycle: pre-emergency planning, emergency mitigation measures, emergency response preparedness, and the emergency recovery. These are the 4 main pillars of the ERDMP cycle. Pre-emergency planning: industrial hazards, you have to identify natural hazards, whether your industry falls in that area, cyclone prone, earthquake prone, etc. And what could be the extraneous hazards, bomb threat, civil disorder, terrorism. These are to be identified right from the beginning. And then emergency mitigation measures are to be identified. What are in place? And HSE management system, inbuilt safety system, operational safety measures, physical safety measures, fire protection measures, and the basic information layout and the detailed emergency contact number, security threat plan, etc. These are all to be written down. Now, when we talk about the disaster management, we also talk about HSE management system. which is a fundamental tool through which the entire system is managed. So in GAIL, this is 18-element HSE management system, starting from the leadership and commitment, employee participation, facility design, construction, pre-startup review. These are various 18 elements which have been further detailed out so that SOPs can be written by sites with respect to each element. Process safety information, risk analysis, management, third-party services, personal safety, control of defeat and reliability of critical devices. As I was mentioning, this is very important that interlocks are not bypassed unauthorizedly. Many incidents in past has happened all over the world because of the bypassing of interlocks. Then emergency response preparedness, you have mutual agreement and you rehearse it frequently. I will not go again into the details of emergency communication. I was already mentioning about the NGMC and RGMC. We also have a system of multiple SMS and voice telephony. In case of emergency, the already listed out the people who are to be informed. With one click of a button, everybody gets the SMS and everybody gets the voice telephoning message through which the instant transmission of the information, emergency information happens, and the designated person takes the required action. This is a local emergency action plan of one of the site, how it looks like. This is a communication flow in case of non-major incident. As per the MOPNG, incidents have to be major or non-major. So what will be the flow of information? As soon as the information received at the RGMC Regional Gas Management Center, how it will travel and who are the people to be informed. This is all written down and thoroughly conveyed to the all concerned people. Emergency recovery procedure. Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sorry for the interference, sir. That's for just a gentle reminder for the time constraints.
Yes, yes, I know. Within 2-3 minutes, I'll come.
Thank you, sir.
Review and implementation of ERDM, I have already mentioned. Now, to give the highest attention, as was mentioned by Mr. Datta, that leadership role is very, very important. So there is a board level subcommittee who are reviewing constantly what is your progress with respect to safety management and disaster management. So this is very important for the oil and gas industry, and it is happening in oil and gas industry. These are some of the other preparedness training. In GAIL, we have a training center at GTI Noida, but in addition, we have such live firefighting training center developed at all the process plants and petrochemical plants. This is my last slide, especially with respect to the CGD. For CGD companies, it is very necessary that you have a safety governance mechanism to avoid any kind of disasters. We have also GAIL Gas, which deals with the CGD. A single incident could damage the company's image and it could lead to serious problems. So we should have a robust safety governance mechanism wherein the role of CEO or COO, officer in charges, HODs in safety management has to be clearly spelled out, and they must review the safety in every review meetings. And in GAIL, what we have done, we are observing monthly safety day, wherein half day the mandate is given to each in charges of the site to review only safety management, and then the exceptions are submitted to the corporate office, which are compiled and reviewed by the directors. This has given a lot of focus and impetus on this area, which is very important. Same way the CGD's company must do. Site safety visits by all officials, that should be happening by charges should take lead in this, and they should walk the talk. This is necessary because generally perception is that city gas distribution area is a low risk area, but when the frequency of incidents becomes high because of third party interference, it doesn't remain a low risk area, it becomes high risk area. So we must focus accordingly. So this is all. Thank you so much. You can ask questions if you have.
Very much, sir, for your presentation and highlighting this ERR and also disaster risks in petrol installation and sector, and also like ERD So there were questions, sir, but I will take, sir, two questions, sir.
Okay.
First question is from Sir Anuruddha Pradhan. The question is, sir, like you have talked about that GIS mapping of pipeline. So can you enlighten us more about more detail in GIS mapping, like the techniques and what are that are used in GIS? That mapping of GIS in pipeline.
Right.
What are the various parameters or anything to enlighten that part?
Yeah, sure. In fact, generally it is done through software like bought a Rosen software through which the actual positioning of the pipeline is mapped in the software. You know what are the natural, natural gradient of that area. Pipeline is going up or down. If there is a river or there is a nala crossing or there is a hill nearby, everything is captured there. And then you also know the as I was mentioning, detail of the important areas. Important areas means emergency response help from where you need. What are the nearby villages? What are the administrative bodies available nearby? Like where all you will find the police station or the fire station or other stakeholder help you need. So everything is mapped in advance across the pipeline, so that wherever an incident happen, you can just click on that area and you will find nearby complete details: police stations, thana, the fire stations, the district administration, the water supply, everything get easily available. And what is the gradient of the pipeline? What are the approach area? How can we approach the pipeline? All those details are mapped. That is why it becomes very easy for emergency.
Sir, one more question is from Sir Surya Prakash Vyas. His question is in Hindi, sir. His question is, इस प्रकार के आपदाओं से निपटने के लिए युवाओं का परीक्षण हेतु कोई संस्थान है क्या? Like he wants to know, like if there is some training institute for this type of training for the like normal. Like we have already talked about how you give training to the community, but he wants to know if some youth can, like the general youth, can go for training for this type of hazards.
Yeah, in fact, for general public only, the fact remains the NDRF, the wing of NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority, they have a specific force which is called NDRF, National Disaster Response Force, which you might have seen on TVs that wherever floods happening, earthquake happening, this is the force available all over the country, and they immediately reach there and they help rescue people. So in peacetime, they organize the mock drills, and this they are doing all over the country, spread out into various northeast where they are doing. So these in these mock drills, they are involving the local people irrespective of their age, the villagers, the shopkeepers, whoever are available. The local community is completely engaged in these mock drills, so they can participate and they can learn how to handle the emergencies. And additionally, as I was mentioning, wherever the hydrocarbon pipelines are passed, generally in oil and gas sector, this is the practice that the local youth or the local people, for making them sensitize them of what are the risks and what is their role in case of emergency. The various films are shown, audio video films are shown, or the local nataks are organized in a local language so that they can understand. Yes. And even the radio jingles, as I was mentioning,
yes,
local radios, those jingles are being played.
Yes.
So this is all for the local community only.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful presentation, sir. Thank you, sir.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you, NIDM. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Raju Thapa, and all the audiences. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. So now for our last presentation of today, we will move ahead. We have with us Mr. Alok Kumarji from Institute of Petroleum Safety, Health and Environmental Management, IPSAM, Goa, who will be highlighting us more on our oil and gas pipeline leakage. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Thapaji.
Yes, sir.
Is visible?
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible, sir.
And audio, is it audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is okay, sir.
Is there any rectangular box appearing on the screen?
Nothing, sir.
Do I need to move it? Nothing, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Respected ED NIDM Shri Dr. Surya Prakash sir. Today's distinguished speakers, Dr. S.P. Govt sir, Shri Hirak Datta sir, and today's moderator, Shri Raju Thapa ji, and all the participants across country. A very good afternoon to one and all. And first of all, I'd like to express my gratitude to NIDM for giving me this opportunity and taking up the today's presentation, which is on oil pipeline leakage. My name is Alok Kumar. I'm working with ONGC since last 9 years, and since last 2 years, I'm working with ONGC Ipsham Goa. ONGC has a HSC institute at South Goa, where we provide and offer all kinds of HSC trainings. Moving next, these are the presentation outline. First of all, I'll be covering the introduction part, various causes of oil and gas pipeline leakage, different hazards, past fire incidents, and preventive measures. Moving forward, you can see on the screen there are two photographs, one on the left hand side and the another one on the right hand side. आप सब सोच रहे होंगे कि मैं क्या दिखा रहा हूँ, but it has some relevance with the today's topic. So in the left hand side you can see a man frying bhajia, and on the right hand side you can see there's a crowd to catch the local train, and obviously ये एक मुंबई local train की भीड़ है. Doing some firefighting job. A group of people है, and you can see by appearance you can find it out, they are the ladies. So अभी पहले के स्लाइड में हमने देखा एक भजिया तल रहे हैं और एक लोकल ट्रेन को कैच करने की भीड़ है, and another one is of doing some firefighting job. So I would raise a question, which activity is more dangerous? The first one which you saw in the slide 3 जिसमें कि भजिया तल रहे हैं या लोकल ट्रेन को कैच करना है, or the one in the slide 4 where there's a group of people doing some firefighting job. So आप इस question का answer you can write in the chat box and we'll discuss it later. So you have 1 minute of time, आप इसका answer कर सकते हैं. You all are requested to please answer. इनमें एक्टिविटीज ज्यादा डेंजरस है आपके पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से? क्योंकि टाइम बहुत ज्यादा हुआ है, सो आई रिक्वेस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू टू प्लीज, क्योंकि जल्दी वाइंड अप करना है आज का सेशन. So I can see I am receiving few chats. Catching local train in Bombay. Most of the people have mentioned that it's a bit difficult or bit more risky to catch local train in Bombay. Now I'll end up this chat session. Moving further. Okay. मैं इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर एलाबोरेट करना चाहूंगा. आपने जो फर्स्ट स्लाइड में देखा था कि एक इंसान है जो कि अपने हाथ को दिए है हॉट लिक्विड में, हॉट ऑयल में, और ऑन द राइट हैंड साइड यू कैन सी देयर इज अ क्राउड ऑफ टू कैच द लोकल ट्रेन. सो ये सभी भी एक रिस्की जॉब है, बट सिंस वी डू इट ऑन अ रेगुलर बेसिस तो हमें ये रिस्की जॉब इजी लगने लगता है. इट बिकम्स द पार्ट ऑफ आवर रूटीन जॉब. बट इफ समबडी सेज यू हैव टू डू सम फायर फाइटिंग जॉब, हम आग को देख के ना बड़ा स्केयर्ड से हो जाते हैं. वी बिकम्स वेरी स्केयर्ड and we think that it's not our job, it's a job of the firefighting team or the fire professional. But scene is not like the same, because anywhere if you will see my voice is breaking. Mr. Thapa ji, can you give me the feedback?
No sir, it is absolutely okay sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. So what is the conception that people think that firefighting is not our job, and the practical thing is that it's the everybody's job, क्योंकि हम लोग फर्स्ट रिस्पॉन्डर होते हैं. आई मीन टू, हम लोग बोलने का मतलब है the person, those who are working at the installation, those who are exposed to oil and gas field, they are the first responder and they have to first attack the fire. Then after few minutes of time, fire professional would come and take over the charge. So it becomes a prime responsibility and we don't have to get scared. So मैं इस misconception को आपके माइंड से निकालने के लिए ये दो स्लाइड मैंने दिखाया कि हम डे टू डे रूटीन जॉब में, हम अपने लाइफ में ऐसे और भी रिस्की जॉब कर रहे हैं विच इज मोर रिस्की दैन डूइंग फायर फाइटिंग. सो हमें अपना कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल हाई रखना है, एंड विद सम प्रॉपर ट्रेनिंग एंड विद सम प्रॉपर नॉलेज, एडिक्वेट नॉलेज, वी कैन टेक ओवर एनी काइंड ऑफ फायर सिनेरियो. मूविंग, एक स्टेटमेंट है विच आई फील इज मोर और लेस सेम. वर्किंग इन एन ऑयल एंड गैस फील्ड इज इक्वल टू मूविंग ऑन रोड. मैं मानता हूं कि रोड पे चलना इज ऑलमोस्ट इक्विवेलेंट टू वर्किंग इन एन ऑयल एंड गैस फील्ड. दिस इज बीइंग टोल्ड इन अ कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ रिस्क. जो रिस्क हम रोड पे चलने में फेस करते हैं, रिस्क लाइक एन एग्जांपल, जैसे कि हम रोड पे चल रहे हैं, सो वी कैन मीट विद एन एक्सीडेंट एनी टाइम बिकॉज ऑफ आवर मिस्टेक और बिकॉज ऑफ समबडीज मिस्टेक. सो लाइकवाइज ऑयल एंड गैस फील्ड में भी सेम होता है. समटाइम्स कुछ एक ह्यूमन एरर और इक्विपमेंट फेलियर की वजह से कुछ एक इश्यूज या सिनेरियो क्रिएट हो जाते हैं, एंड दैट कैन लीड टू प्रॉपर्टी एंड ह्यूमन लॉस. सो हम क्या रोड पे चलना बंद कर देते हैं क्या एक्सीडेंट के डर से? नहीं कर रहे हैं, है ना. हम जानते हैं कि देयर इज अ रिस्क. रिस्क क्या होता है, मैं थोड़ा आपको एक, क्योंकि आई हैव कम टू नो कि नॉर्मल ऑडियंस भी है, जनरल पब्लिक भी है, तो एक हैजार्ड होता है, एक रिस्क होता है. हैजार्ड इज समथिंग विच हैज पोटेंशियल टू कॉज हार्म. किसी भी चीज में, किसी भी एक्टिविटी जो हार्म करने का क्षमता रखता हो, पोटेंशियल रखता हो, उसको हम लोग हैजार्ड बोलते हैं. रिस्क क्या है? इट्स अ प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ द हैजार्ड. उस हैजार्ड को अकर करने की जो प्रोबेबिलिटी है, जिसमें की सिवियरिटी भी होती है, जिसमें इंटेंसिटी होती है, उसको हम लोग बोलते हैं रिस्क. तो जब हम रोड पे चलते हैं तो रोड पे एक्सीडेंट होने की एक फ्रीक्वेंसी हो सकती है और उसकी सिवियरिटी हो सकती है. तो उस चीज को हम लोग प्रिवेंट करने के लिए हम रोड पे चल रहे हैं, knowing the fact that we can meet with an accident, but हम रोड पे चलना बंद नहीं कर रहे हैं. We are following all the safety precautions, like जैसे कि एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कंट्रोल है, जैसे कि हमें रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस को फॉलो करना है, हमें साइड इंडिकेटर यूज करना है. देयर आर डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन. मोटर व्हीकल एक्ट या मोटर व्हीकल रूल्स जिसको बोलता है, तो दैट्स एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कंट्रोल. इसके अलावा में अगर सपोज इफ बाय एनी वंस मिस्टेक अगर आप किसी एक्सीडेंट को मीट करते हैं, देन उसकी इंटेंसिटी, उसकी सिवियरिटी को कम करने के लिए इनहेरेंट सेफ्टी मेजर्स लाइक व्हीकल में एयर बैग्स आते हैं. आप जब तक कि आप सीट बेल्ट नहीं लगा के रखेंगे, एयर बैग इन्फ्लेट नहीं होगा. सो देयर आर इनहेरेंट सेफ्टी, देयर आर सम इंजीनियरिंग कंट्रोल विच आर बीइंग प्रोवाइडेड इन योर व्हीकल जस्ट टू रिड्यूस intensity or just to reduce the severity of that risk. So with all these things, we are moving on road. Likewise, we are also working in an oil and gas industry. We are working in an oil and gas field, knowing the fact we are sitting on a bomb, but we have to work. हम इस चीज से डर से हम अपने आप को we will not run away from any scenario. Okay, so वहां पे भी रिस्क है, जैसे कि हजार्ड है, जैसे कि पाइपलाइन लीकेज हो गया या ऑयल स्पिलेज हो गया. सो दीज आर सम हैजार्ड्स व्हिच कैन लीड टू फायर एंड एक्सप्लोजन. सो वी नीड टू बी वेरी मच क्लियर दैट जहां पे भी हम काम कर रहे हैं वहां पे रिस्क हो सकता है. देयर आर एन नंबर ऑफ हिडन हैजार्ड्स और रिस्क वेयर एवर वी आर वर्किंग, वेदर इट्स एन ऑयल एंड गैस फील्ड, वेदर वी आर मूविंग ऑन अ रोड. सो to curtail or to minimize those risks, there are some different control measures we shall adopt. Moving on next. Gas pipeline leakage is one of the major fire and explosion hazard in any oil and gas industry. You can see यहाँ पे you can see there is a photograph where you can see the black color there. It's a oil well in ONGC. You can see there are a lot of oil wells, and oil well का जो site होता है normally remote areas में होता है, और वो sometimes due to some pipeline failure or any reasons can be there for this oil spillage. So what are the causes of oil leakage, oil and gas leakage? Pipeline leakage के पीछे के reasons क्या क्या हो सकते हैं? जैसे कि पहले के दो प्रेजेंटेशन जो हुए हैं उनमें बहुत सारे reasons and बहुत सारे remedial measures cover हुए हैं, but still I'll write on those things again from my side. So what are the causes? The causes can be internal or external corrosion. So all of you might be aware of the fact that what is the corrosion. So corrosion is the one of the major reason for any pipeline failure. So most देखेंगे जो corrosion होता है किसी पाइपलाइन के अंडरनीथ पार्ट में ज्यादा होता है, क्योंकि ये मोस्टली आप देखेंगे कोई पाइपिंग है which is above the ground और which is under the ground, वो नीचे के साइड से मोस्टली फेलियर होता है, वहां पे क्रैक्स हो सकता है, पाइपलाइन का जो डिजायर्ड थिकनेस है, द थिकनेस जिसके लिए उसको डिजाइन किया गया, वो थिकनेस ग्रेजुअली वो रिड्यूस होता है और एट सम वीकेस्ट पॉइंट वहां से वो ऑयल और गैस स्टार्ट कर देता है बिकॉज ऑफ द करोजन. Next one is the poor conditions of the valve. With due course of time, over the period of time, what happens? The conditions of valve become the poor, or due to lack of some adequate maintenance, the valve starts malfunctioning, and which can lead to oil and gas leakage. The next one is the loose flange and the nut bolts. बहुत बार मेंटेनेंस जॉब होता है पाइपलाइन में, कहीं पे गेट वाल्व का मेंटेनेंस हुआ है या हम लोगों ने आइसोलेट किया है, और एनी काइंड ऑफ एनी नेचर ऑफ सम मेंटेनेंस जॉब हैज बीन डन over the pipeline. So after the maintenance job, if the gasket or any nut bolt is not properly secured or tightened, so it can lead to the oil and gas leakage. और कोई हेवी मशीनरी है, कुछ ग्राइंडिंग जॉब चल रहा है, मशीन जहाँ पे फाउंडेशन प्रॉपर नहीं, जहाँ पे ग्राइंडिंग जॉब या ज्यादा शेकिंग या मूवमेंट के नट बोल्ट लूज हो सकते हैं पाइपलाइन के या वाल्व्स के, so that can also lead to the leakage condition. Next one is the damage through external source. It is also very important because जब कभी भी कोई एक मूविंग ऑपरेशन हो रहा है या लिफ्टिंग या क्रेन का यूज कर रहे हैं या एक्सकवेशन जॉब हो रहा है, सो ऑलवेज एक परमिट टू वर्क सिस्टम इश्यू होता है हर एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में. So permit to work system में all such scenarios are considered, all such scenarios are taken into the precautions की which is not a routine job shall not lead to any fire or explosion. So उसमें अगर मान लीजिए कोई excavation job चल रहा है and if there is a pipeline having oil or gas under to the surface, और वो hit हो सकता है, puncture हो सकता है and that can cause to the leakage. और कोई और एक और conditions ये हो सकती है कि कोई लिफ्टिंग जॉब चल रहा है, क्रेन का यूज कर रहे हैं, जैसे कि एक ओएनजीसी का बीएचएन डिजास्टर है जो कि मैं आपको आगे के एक स्लाइड में शो करूंगा, जिस लिफ्टिंग ऑपरेशन के दौरान में ट्रंक लाइन या पाइपलाइन हिट हो गया एंड एक से ऑयल स्पिल ओवर हुआ एंड लार्ज क्वांटिटी ऑफ ऑयल वाज स्पिल एंड दैट इवेंचुअली कॉट द फायर. So through external source, damage to external source can also be one of the causes for leakage. Next one is the overpressure. हर एक पाइपलाइन का एक डिजाइन प्रेशर है, एक डिजाइन थिकनेस है जिसपे कि वो वर्क करता है. इफ द प्रेशर बाय एनी मींस, जस्ट लाइक कि पंपिंग प्रेशर जो है वो डिस्पैच प्रेशर से मतलब जो डिस्पैच के लिए उसको डिजाइन किया गया है, पंपिंग ज्यादा हो रहा है, डिस्पैच लो हो रहा है, तो प्रेशर इवेंट शूट होता जाएगा पाइपलाइन में, और विच कैन लीड टू ओवर प्रेशर एंड कैन डू ब्लास्ट और कैन डू बर्स्टिंग ऑफ दैट पाइपलाइन. Next and the last one is the poor quality of material. We in any organization we focus more on the standard product, standard equipment, and if let's say somebody is using some substandardized equipment or product, that can lead to the leakage. That's the poor quality of material. So these are some, or we also, what I feel these are some major causes which can lead to oil and gas leakage. Moving on next. What can be the causes of such leakages? So, sorry, what can be the consequences of such leakages? So, leakage of any oil and gas can convert into the fire. The next one is the explosion or unconfined vapor cloud explosion. That is UCV. You can tell me what do you understand by UCV, or have you ever came across this terminology UCV? आपने कभी UCV का सुना है बारे में? What is this term terminology? आप चैट में मेंशन कर सकते हैं. This word UCV, this abbreviation. So this is unconfined vapor explosion. आप मोस्टली जितने भी ऑयल एंड गैस लीकेजेस होते हैं, कभी भी लीकेज पॉइंट पे ना, मोस्टली लीकेज पॉइंट पे वो सोर्स ऑफ इग्निशन से मीट नहीं करता है. अगर वो सोर्स कर रहा है तो आपका जो स्केल ऑफ एक्सप्लोजन है वो लेस रहेगा. बट लेट्स से इफ देयर इज अ लीकेज एट एनी पॉइंट एक्स पॉइंट ऑफ योर पाइपलाइन एंड द फुल फॉर्म इज vapor cloud explosion. Unconfined vapor cloud explosion. So if there is leakage at any point of your pipeline, and with wind direction, the plume which has been formed due to the flammable mixture of the vapor air mixture of that fuel or the gas, that flows or blows with the wind direction, and at some y point or at some x distance उसको अगर कोई ignition source मिलता है, so वहां से लेके जहां से आपका लीकेज स्टार्ट हुआ है, the entire area is under the blast. So it is more dangerous, and it is being said that mostly जितने भी आप लीकेजेस के वजह से एक्सप्लोजन आप सुने होंगे अर्लियर या जो हो रहे हैं इवन ओएनजीसी में हमारे यहाँ जो हो रहे हैं, that is mostly due to unconfined vapor cloud explosion, because we are not able to find out or we are not able to detect the leakage point on the मतलब right time पे हम detect नहीं कर पाते हैं, and it takes lot of time. So within that interval or duration, it covers the larger area, and if it finds any ignition source somewhere remotely, like कोई चाय वाला है दूर पे, जैसे कि टाटीपाका गेल में इंसिडेंट हुआ था, चाय वाला है दूर पे नियर बाय टू द प्लांट और रिफाइनरी और एनी इंस्टॉलेशन, सो वहां से भी उसको इग्निशन सोर्स मिल सकता है, या कोई और कोई इंक्रोचमेंट करके झुग्गी झोपड़ी बनाया है, तो उसको वहां से भी source of ignition मिल सकता है, and that can lead to unconfined vapor explosion. Next one is the environmental hazards. हम लोग normally we are not more worried about the environmental hazards. जैसे कि हम लोग फायर एक्सप्लोजन या अपने खुद के हेल्थ के प्रति बहुत कॉन्शियस हैं. इट्स वेरी सैड टू से दैट इवन मैं अपने ऊपर भी लेता हूं, तो व्हाट आई फील दैट वी आर लेस वरीड और कॉन्शियस अबाउट द environments. So what are the environmental hazards? So let's say अगर oil and gas का लीकेज हुआ है, if oil has been spilled into the ocean or oil has been spilled into the soil, so that can cause land or water pollution, or if it has caught fire, then it will create or it will cause air pollution. Like IOC जयपुर का जो इंसिडेंट हुआ था, so दिल्ली भी धुआं देख रहे थे वहां से, so it creates a lot of pollution, such leakages condition, if it has caught fire or not. And the last one is the loss of product or the financial implication. So you can see if there is some leakage in industry या organization के ऊपर में financial implication आता है. वो कैसे आता है? अगर आपका 1 ton of oil अगर spillage हो गया, leakage हो गया, so it will eventually create some financial implication on your organization. इसके अलावा में moreover the pollution control board or the state government or the government of India also impose some fine हर एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पे अगर उनसे ऐसा सिचुएशन क्रिएट हुआ है, so they have to pay such heavy penalty to compensate that losses. So एक financial implication, एक financial loss एक industry organization के ऊपर आता है, which also create which also hamper the reputation of organization too. Moving on, some past fire or leakage incidents I would like to highlight. You can see in picture, it's 2014 में गेल pipeline explosion हुआ था टाटीपाका आंध्र प्रदेश में. It took the life of 18 persons and 40 were injured. You can see in the picture around the 10 acres of area were turned into the ashes. When I was googling about this particular incident, एक बड़ा important सा fact I came to know that कि जब leakage हो रहा था, तो गेल personnel tried to communicate about the incident कि there is some leakage going on. Please be aware and evacuate the area. But since we know that such natural gas is odorless, colorless होता है, तो हमें देख भी नहीं सकते हैं. So जो चीज हमें दिखती नहीं है, the thing which we cannot see from our naked eye, we take it lightly. So people took it lightly and they did not put themselves forward and try to evacuate the entire area. Caught the fire, the entire area was turned into ashes, which you can see in the picture. 10 acres of area were turned into ashes. It's a huge area. Why I'm showing you such incidents? Every incident comes with some learning lessons. So you can go onto the internet and you can find out what went wrong and what preventive measures or what measures one has to take so that such incidents could not reoccur in the future. The next is the ONGC Mumbai High accident. which occurred in the year 2005, July 27. It took the life of 11 people. Unfortunately, it took the life of 11 people. And the most fortunate thing which happened that around 362 people who were at that platform were rescued. जैसे कि आप लोग सभी लोग अवगत होंगे, you might be familiar that ONGC has their rigs, their platform in the middle of the ocean, जहाँ पे option नहीं होता है कि you can jump into the sea if something went wrong. So if it catches fire, then you don't have any option left. You have to fight fire. So you have to all your resources, all your equipment intact, so that you are prepared for such scenario. So in year 2005, on July 27th, there was a fire incident platform, जिसमें कि 11 लोग की डेथ हुई थी and 362 people were rescued. So ये ध्यान देने की बात है कि इतने होने के बावजूद भी we could manage to rescue such huge number of people from there. The whole platform were destroyed within the 2 hours of time, and the property loss which ONGC faced was $300 million US. So you can see statistics में आप देख सकते हैं कि consequences क्या है, financial implications भी हैं organizations के ऊपर में, property loss है, and there are n number of consequences or the impact which any oil and gas leakages are imposing on any organization or to the environment or to the human or property. The next one, I'd rather call it leakage. It's basically a spillage. So deep water horizon spill, DP oil spill के नाम से भी बहुत famous है. It took in year, it happened in the year 2010, 20th of April 2000. It is also known as the largest marine oil spill. It was a long month marine oil spill where 4.9 million barrels of oil were spilled into the Gulf of Mexico. करीब एक महीने ये spillage चला और 4.9 million barrels of crude oil were spilled into the Gulf of Mexico. So during the incident, 11 people were died and more than 17 were injured in that incident, and $18.7 billion were imposed as a fine by the US government onto the BP British Petroleum. Which you can see, I've tried to share with you all. It has created a mass destruction. You can see there's a huge spillage into the Gulf of Mexico. Ocean में आप देख सकते हैं पूरा blackish है. काफी aquatic animal were die, बहुत affect किया था उनको. एक ecology पे एक काफी बड़ा impact create किया था ये BP oil spill. You can see from these pictures. Moving on next, I would like to ponder upon few of the important points which one can focus. Never ever try to neglect any leakage, whether it's a small or the कोई भी incident वो start में small होता है, जैसे जैसे time बढ़ता है वो धीरे धीरे बड़ा रूप लेते जाता है. And it's always better to handle or care any incident in its incipient or in its early stage. So always try to be alert and report immediately wherever you have found any kind of leakage. आप हो सकता है कि अपने घर में हो या हो सकता है आपके घर ना हो या हमारे घर में लीकेज ना हो, बट समवेयर इफ यू हैव स्मेल LPG, सो डोंट इग्नोर इट कि हमारे घर में नहीं है. इट कैन कवर द एंटायर बिल्डिंग टू इफ देयर इज अ explosion in any LPG cylinder. So always be alert and report immediately. Restrict the leakage first. Sorry. Normally क्या होता है कि हम लोग हफाजाट हो जाते हैं, हम लोग डर जाते हैं और अगर कुछ नहीं मिला है तो हम लोग सोचते हैं कि हमें फायर फाइटिंग करनी चाहिए. सो हमें कभी भी इंसिडेंट पे पहुंच करके इंसिडेंट सिनेरियो या किसी भी साइट पे पहुंच, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी हैव टू टेक 1 or 2 minutes of time and we have to gather all the information relevant to that scenario. जैसे कि लीकेज कहाँ से हो रहा है या लीकेज को अरेस्ट कहाँ से कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज आप मान लीजिए लीकेज को अरेस्ट नहीं किए हैं एंड यू हैव एक्सटिंग्विश्ड द फायर, आग लगी थी आपने एक्सटिंग्विश कर दिया, बट आपको लीकेज पॉइंट नहीं मिल रहा है, वो नहीं मिल रहा है, तो लीकेज क्या होगा, अब वो लीकेज कंटिन्यू करेगा एंड विल गो टू अ लार्जर एरिया, वो कवर करेगा एंड इट कैन कन्वर्ट इनटू द अनकन्फाइंड वेपर एक्सप्लोजन व्हिच इज मोर डेडलीस्ट. सो ऑलवेज ट्राई टू रिस्ट्रिक्ट द लीकेज फर्स्ट. मेंटेन सेफ डिस्टेंस. कहीं पे भी आप लीकेज सिचुएशन को आप अटेंड करने जा रहे हैं, वेदर इट इज अंडर फायर और नॉट, आप एक सेफ डिस्टेंस मेंटेन करिए, बिकॉज इफ इट इज नॉट अंडर द फायर it can catch fire in any minute of time if it is being introduced with the ignition source. Take your position in the upwind direction. हमेशा अपविंड डायरेक्शन में पोजीशन लेना है। अगर आपके पास पोर्टेबल फायर एक्सटिंग्विशर्स है, आपको ट्रेनिंग मिली है, आप पोर्टेबल फायर एक्सटिंग्विशर्स का हेल्प से आप उसको एक्सटिंग्विश कर सकते हैं। एंड नेवर एवर ट्राई टू कम इन द लाइन ऑफ द लीकेज। जहां कहीं से भी लीकेज हो रहा है हमें उसके लाइन में नहीं होना चाहिए, क्योंकि अगर मान लीजिए लीकेज अचानक से कोई प्रेशराइज फ्यूल है, अचानक से प्रेशर बढ़ता है या आप उसके लाइन में आ गए, सो यू कैन कम इन द लाइन और वो आग पकड़ेगा तो पूरा फ्यूल आपके ऊपर में स्पिल करके आपको भी यू कैन बी अंडर द फायर टू। व्हाट आर द प्रिवेंटिव मेजर्स? You can see we have to adopt the leak detection technologies. It is always said that prevention is better than cure, so we have to focus more on the prevention part. Adopt some leak detection technologies. आजकल hand held भी thermal imaging cameras आ रहे हैं जहाँ के what the leakage point, because लीकेज में जो सबसे बड़ा आपको प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि आप लीकेज तो आपको मालूम चला कि देयर इज अ लीकेज, बट टू आइडेंटिफाई द सोर्स ऑफ लीक इज वेरी हार्ड, इट्स अ वेरी ट्रबलसम जॉब टू कैरी आउट। सो हमें हमेशा लीक पॉइंट को ट्रिगर करना है, लीक पॉइंट को टारगेट करना है। अनलेस वी टारगेट द लीक पॉइंट हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते, लीकेज अरेस्ट नहीं कर सकते। सो यू हैव टू अडॉप्ट सम टेक्नोलॉजीज विच अगर कहीं पे भी लीक हुआ है इन इट्स अर्ली स्टेज, तो दैट कैन बी स्पॉटेड। टेक्नोलॉजीज और भी हैं, या लीकेज होने के बाद में यू कैन यूज, देयर आर सम सॉफ्टवेयर, सम सिमुलेशन सॉफ्टवेयर जिसमें कि लीकेज सिनेरियो को सिमुलेट किया जा सकता है। इफ देयर इज अ लीकेज एट एक्स पॉइंट ऑफ वाई पाइपलाइन, सो वो लीक कितने एरिया को कवर करेगा, या लीकेज है तो कितने मिनट के बाद में अगर इग्निशन सोर्स मिला है तो वो एक एक्सप्लोजन करेगा, तो थ्रेट एरिया कितना आता है, सो दैट कि उसके अकॉर्डिंगली में आपको इवैक्यूएशन प्रोसेस करना है नियर बाय रेसिडेंट्स का। स्टैब्लिशमेंट ऑफ इंडस्ट्री स्पॉन्सर्ड सेफ्टी इंस्ट्रक्शंस। बहुत बार क्या होता है कि एक पर्टिकुलर इंडस्ट्री है, मान लीजिए एक ओएनजीसी है, वी हैव एक्सपर्टाइज इन एक्सप्लोरेशन एंड प्रोडक्शन, बट हो सकता है कि हमारी एक्सपर्टाइज कुछ एक टर्म्स में उतनी अच्छी ना हो, देन इन दैट सिनेरियो वी हैव टू हायर सम एक्सपर्टाइज सो दैट कि जिनका फोकस सिर्फ और सिर्फ सेफ्टी के प्रति हो, या उनके पास ऐसे एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी है जो कि हमारे सेफ्टी को इंश्योर करता हो, सो दैट एजेंसीज कैन बी हायर्ड अप। ट्रेनिंग एंड वर्कर सेफ्टी प्रोग्राम, वी हैव टू फोकस मोर ऑन ट्रेनिंग एंड द सेफ्टी ऑफ वर्कर्स जो भी काम कर रहे हैं। अनलेस जैसे कि मैंने बोला रोड पे चलना, ऑयल एंड गैस फील्ड में काम करना, बट वहाँ पे हमारी सेफ्टी इंश्योर होती है कि हम सेफ्टी बेल्ट लगाते हैं, एयर बैग काम कर रहा है या हेलमेट लगा रहे हैं, हम लोग अपनी सारी सेफ्टी को इंश्योर करते हैं। लाइकवाइज जो भी वर्कर काम कर रहे हैं हमारे फील्ड में उनकी भी सेफ्टी इंश्योर होनी चाहिए, एंड टाइम टू टाइम उनकी ट्रेनिंग आपको प्रोवाइड करानी है, उनकी ट्रेनिंग की एडिक्वेसी चेक करनी है, टाइम टू टाइम अपग्रेडेशन कोई प्रोग्राम है उनमें उनको इन्वॉल्व करना है, सो दैट कि वो अपकमिंग रिस्क या जैसे कि कोई एडवांसमेंट हुआ है आपके प्रेमाइसेस में, तो जो हिडन रिस्क है उनको भी अवेयर हो एंड दे कैन टेक केयर ऑफ सच सिनेरियोस। सेटिंग ऑफ स्पिल रिडक्शन टारगेट्स, जैसे कि प्रोडक्शन का टारगेट होता है, जैसे कि हम लास्टली आई वाज इन ओएनजीसी महसाना गुजरात, तो हम लोगों का टारगेट था 6000 टन पर डे हम लोगों को प्रोड्यूस करना था क्रूड ऑयल। सो लाइकवाइज आपको भी स्पिल रिडक्शन टारगेट सेट करनी है कि आपके टारगेट ये मिला है, आप लाइकवाइज जैसे आप प्रोडक्शन का टारगेट अचीव कर रहे हो, आपको स्पिल को भी रिड्यूस करने का टारगेट आपको लेना ईयरली बेसिस या ईयरली बेसिस पे। सो दीज आर सम preventive measures, and moving on next, probably I think this is the last slide. Since I am working with ONGC Ipsham Goa, I would like to give about ONGC Ipsham, particularly about the firefighting training program. We have in total 13 firefighting simulators where we create a scenario, different scenarios, oil and gas leakage भी scenarios हैं, BV situations भी हैं, open fire हैं, एलिवेटेड स्ट्रक्चर फायर। तो इन टोटल हमारे पास 13 फायर फाइटिंग ट्रेनिंग सिमुलेटर्स हैं, जो कि आज का टॉपिक था ऑयल। There we have also a simulator which is a hydrocarbon liquid and gas pipeline leakage simulator. So आप देख सकते हैं जिसमें कि हम लोग there are two kinds of simulation we do. पाइपलाइन में प्रेशर फीड फ्यूल होता है जिसमें कि प्रेशर से ऑयल आता है, वहां पे ऑयल का पुल भी बनता है, ऑयल का जेट भी आता है पाइपलाइन से। So we simulate the scenario of pull fire and a jet fire, and it's a very effective training program. ONGC and different external organizations, Airport Authority, GAIL India Limited, IMC Limited, IOC, and different issues come forward, and their employees undergo such training programs. So thank you so much. Now we can move forward for the Q&A session. If you have any question in your mind, you can put forward, or you can on your screen, and you can also see my mobile number. You can ping me if you have any doubt or any query in your mind regarding to my topic. Thank you so much. Thanks to NIDM opportunity. Thanks to the entire team. Any questions, please?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for a wonderful presentation, sir. So we'll quickly move on to the question, sir. There is one question from Avinav Sinha, sir. He wants to know, sir, can you give more light on the submarine gas pipeline and its safety?
Sir, actually, submarine gas pipeline, basically, it's out of view. Since I'm working with ONGC, and mostly I am associated with the pipeline which is onshore. So if anything is anything regarding to which is onshore, if you have any doubt, you can ask me. Right now, I have not any. I have no answer to your question. Sorry to say that.
Okay. There is one question, sir. I think, sir, the question is little different, sir. From Wasim,
Yeah.
he wants to know, sir, like for the domestic LPG cylinders, whichever might be the company.
Yeah.
So they like the supplier, they are supposed to come and install at the house.
Yeah.
I don't know, sir. But most of the time, the delivery boy, he doesn't have any training or knowledge or the adequate knowledge about how to install, or in any situation how to go on.
Right.
So what can be done in this type in this situations, or how to solve this factor?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. There are you can see there's a web page, there's a website. आप देखेंगे जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ प्राइम मिनिस्टर द्वारा चलाया गया, उसमें डिफरेंट आप देखेंगे do's, don'ts and learning area अवेलेबल है, जिसमें कि once I was going through that, तो उसमें there are different things which we have to keep in our mind. जैसे कि जो यूजर एंड पे है, और अगर आपको कुछ सर्विसिंग करानी है, आपका जो पाइप यूज कर रहे हैं एलपीजी सिलेंडर में, उसको कब चेंज करना है, आपको क्या क्या चीजें ध्यान में रखनी है जब भी आप रेगुलेटर करते हैं अपने एलपीजी सिलेंडर में या एलपीजी को चेंज करते हैं. आई मीन टू से व्हेन इन ऑपरेशन क्या क्या सेफ्टी प्रिकॉशंस आपको लेनी है, या व्हेन यू हैव टू टेक एनी मेंटेनेंस जॉब, या आपको हमेशा जब भी कोई भी चीज चेंजेस कराते हैं, यू ऑलवेज गो फॉर द ऑथराइज्ड डीलर. जैसे जो भी ऑथराइज्ड डीलर हैं उनके थ्रू ही आप कुछ भी मेंटेनेंस जॉब कराएं, चाहे इट इज रिगार्डिंग टू योर एनी द पाइप विच हैज टू बी चेंज्ड, और एनीथिंग एनी प्रॉब्लम विच हैज अराइजन इनटू योर द रेगुलेटर ऑफ योर सिलेंडर. तो उसमें आप जाके चेक कर सकते हैं, एंड यू विल सी ऑल द डिटेल्स अवेलेबल देयर. बट व्हाट आई फील इन योर केस, आपको ऑथराइज्ड जो डीलर हैं, एजेंसीज हैं, उनको कम्युनिकेशन करिए कि दैट पर्टिकुलर फेलो शुड बी वेल एक्वेंटेड, कि उसको क्या करना है, उसको हमें क्या सिखाना है. और अगर आपको मालूम है, देन यू कैन आस्क कि आप मुझे इस चीज के बारे में अवेयर करें. बिकॉज आफ्टर ऑल सफरर कौन होंगे? वी वुड बी द सफरर. वो जो डिलीवरी बॉय आता है वो सफर नहीं होगा. So it becomes our prime responsibility to be aware of all the such facts or all the such information.
Yes, sir.
I will जिनका एक क्वेरी है ना, वो उनको बोलिएगा मुझे पिंग कर देंगे. मेरे पास एक प्रेजेंटेशन है जिसमें कि इंडियन ऑयल द्वारा सर्कुलेटेड एक बड़ा अच्छा सा स्टडी मटेरियल है, that he can go through that and may that resolve his query.
Yes, sir. And so there is one more question from Manipur, sir. The participant is from Manipur Technical University. So he wants to know, like, do you conduct any kind of safety mock drills?
Yeah.
And if you conduct such type of mock drills for the university, then how do they approach? Suppose like you for that mock drills.
Yeah. Thank you. Actually. We are IPSHM is associated with all kinds of HSC training, और जो भी मॉक ड्रिल्स वगैरह होते हैं आप देखेंगे डिफरेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं या स्टेट फायर सर्विस है, वो लोग टाइम टू टाइम मॉक ड्रिल्स कराते रहते हैं, इवन इन कॉलेजेस, इवन इन स्कूल्स और इवन इन मॉल्स। सो आप अपने जो नियर बाय आपके जो स्टेट फायर सर्विस है, आप उनको रिक्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं, और द पार्ट ऑफ द मॉक ड्रिल, जब आप नेक्स्ट मॉक ड्रिल करते हैं, देन दे कैन कैरी आउट एनी मॉक ड्रिल इन योर एरिया. But if you want any kind of training related to health, safety and environment, you are most welcome. You can approach us anytime and we will provide you the stage for to undergo any such HSC training at IPSHAM.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us and enlightening our participants. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Raju Thapaji. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This opportunity, and thanks to your entire team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So with that being said, we have come to the end of today's wonderful session. So we have exceeded the time, but still the session was so interesting that how the time went by, it was very hard to realize also. So thank you very much, all the speakers. So in the end, like I would like to propose a vote of thanks for all the dignitaries involved. So I wish to express, first of all, my sincere gratitude to Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, Executive Director, NIDM, for his encouragement and support to organize this webinar. And I must mention our deep sense of appreciation, and on behalf of all the participants also, for our distinguished speakers, Sri Hirek Dattaji, ex-IOC, former ED, and also former advisor and head safety Naira Energy, and Dr. S.P. Gargji, advisor HSC GAIL Limited, and former executive director GAIL, and also our speaker, present speaker Alok Kumarji, IPSHAM Goa, and Professor Surya Prakash, head GMR division, for sharing their practical experience and knowledge and enlightening us in the theme of today's webinar. And I must express my sincere appreciation to Professor Head GMR Division and NIDM for encouraging us and supporting us in all our endeavors. And also very thankful to our participant, without whom them this webinar wouldn't be possible, for listening to us, and like for their contribution and for listening to this session so wonderfully and showing their active participation by raising several questions. Though we couldn't take all the questions, but we will try to forward your questions to the respective speakers. Thank you all the participants also for their active participation. And last but not least, I'm thankful to GMR division team, Dr. Harjeet Kaur and Mr. Anil Kathak, and our IT team also, Sovit, Balaji, and Gaurav, for making this event a very successful one. And on this occasion, I would like to also bring to the notice of the participant that National Institute of Disaster Management, Ministry of Home Affairs, and Mahatma Gandhi State University of Public Administration, Punjab, are organizing a 3-day training program on early warning and communication for disaster risk reduction and resilience from 9th to 11th December. That is from tomorrow onwards, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I will request all of you to kindly join us in this 3-day training program, where we will be joined by distinguished representatives from IMD, from all the leading nodal agencies, IMD, NCS, and also there will be flood forecasting and several others. So I'll request all the participants to kindly join us in that 3-day training program also. And on the in the end, on behalf of NIDM, we wish all the participants a very healthy and safe life. Stay healthy, stay safe. Please remember, 2 gaj ki duri and or mask hai zaruri to fight against this COVID-19 pandemic. So with these words, I would like to end today's webinar. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you very much.